Chevron 1, coded.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow.
You failed your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Cry hammer, and let's set the dogs of war.
Chevron 2 is coded.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of your women.
It's all in the reflexes.
I'll also say that you're heavy into martial arts, Tai Chi and all that killer stuff. I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
Chevron 3 encoded.
And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. I won't. The hell I will.
Chevron 4 encoded.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Chevron 5 encoded.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Chevron 6 encoded.
Now, come on, you can, monkey boy.
Great Scott.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
You shall not pass! I thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf.
What about side by side with a friend?
The day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Chevron 7 is locked.
Hail and howdy, everybody. Welcome back to another Saturday Night Drive-In. We've been looking forward to this one. Jed was so excited last week, he watched the wrong movie.
What?
Yes.
I did do that.
He was so out of order. He was ready to go, but we're here to have a good time today watching Superman 1978, the first modern-day superhero movie, I think. But we'll get into that. Say hail and howdy to everybody. Jed! Good afternoon, Jed. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here to talk about this film. Like you said, it's kind of the premier superhero film that started it all, and a lot sooner than people think about it. A lot of people think about the X-Men films or the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire being the premier superhero film, but Superman over at DC got things started back when they were the top dogs in the live-action arena. But yeah, I'm very excited to jump into this.
All right. And we got two guests this week. I know, it's weird we got guests. Sometimes it does happen. Welcome back, our favorite little Dermy Wormy. Hi, Dermy. How you doing?
Hi. How are you guys doing? You know, I'm here to talk some wonderful, fun, cheesy stuff.
You're good. All right, now, Dermy, it's been a while since you were on the show. And now that you've watched Stargate, can you appreciate the intro a little bit more?
Yes, I kind of want to go back and watch more of it. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell a chevron is, but...
It's the symbol. It's the symbol on the Stargates.
Yeah, it's a symbol.
Yes.
Why don't you just call it a symbol?
Because that's not me. It's the show.
It's a type of symbol.
He wants to be fancy, Dermy. You know how we operate.
Make it up. It's the show.
It's the show.
It's the show.
We should definitely add that to our list. I've never seen it, so.
Oh, you've never seen the original?
I haven't seen any of them.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, the one's an entire series of shows that you got to put.
Yeah, I've seen nothing.
Oh gosh, so we got to start you off with original Stargate, Kurt Russell and David Spader. So yeah, you need to check that one out. It's on the list. On the list. So much to do and so little time. But we have always time for welcome back, Melee James. Second time on another superhero movie. I know you're ready for this. You're ready.
I am so freaking ready for this. I feel so fortunate that my second appearance is with something I don't want to spoil it, but I'm so excited. I'm just excited. The first one I absolutely gushed about. You're gonna get more gushing. We got Gengar surrounded by Superman stuff here.
Listen, after I was watching this, I wanted to put this in. I wanted to do it, but I can't do it because I'm watching everything in order, and I'm still slowly making my way through this.
Oh, but that's the best thing ever.
So I'm taking my time, but I got this. So I wanted to. I really wanted to.
Make sure you watch the movie in between that sets it up. The Batman
joint
movie is
yeah,
so good.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know
so
if I don't know if it's included in this though. I don't know if it's included in this.
I think it was episodes. I think they were called World's Finest. So if you look,
it wasn't World's Finest. This one starts on disc 1. It starts with the last son of Krypton. So no, the movie.
Okay.
See, unlike the Batman one,
Batman though, I think it's technically a Batman episode.
Well, it's not included in this one. So that's the thing. The Batman one included Mask of Phantasm and Sub-Zero, and I was hoping it would include the joint movie that set them off. But I get it. Well, hey, I'll still watch it.
You'll find a way.
Yeah, I'll find a way. You have to watch it because it starts off the new section of the Dini versus Timverse with them doing the spoilers. So you have to. Anyway, so I'm glad to have you guys here. This was Jed's choice this week. We are watching. We watched. We talk about it. Superman, the movie, 1978. And hail and howdy to everybody across all the chat. Superman.
You said Super and.
You said Super and.
I swallowed the M. Okay. All right.
You swallowed that M. Superman is Superman. It's going to be the next movie. James Gunn's in control.
Oh God.
Wouldn't surprise me.
We're not here to talk about current.
That's ballbusters.
Present, future garbage. We're not talking about. We're going to celebrate something good. And hail and howdy to everybody across the chats. Happy to have you here. Hope you enjoy the show, whether watching live now on my channel and Jed's channel or on the replays, which we will both be uploading in the near future after it's all said and done. All right, so let's get started. Jed, why did you choose this one for this week?
Well, I kind of use this show as an excuse to go through all the classic films that I never had a chance to watch growing up. As many of you know, I didn't watch anything growing up before I became an adult. Television and movies were not something I did engage with regularly. So I have a list that I'm working through, and I can't call myself a fan of the comic book film genre, of the superhero genre, without watching the film that started it all. So this has been on my list to watch at this show for a very, very long time, and I'm excited that we're getting around to it. I just thought with some of the stuff that's going on last year, like what you mentioned with James Gunn's eventual Superman legacy, Henry Cavill's constant drama with the role, because he actually cares, it felt apt to finally get around to it. So,
and listen, we were talking about this in the green room before we got started, I've been watching this movie, the Christopher Reeve movies, my entire life. And let's just say, I'll be honest, they were never high on my priority watch list, but I always respected it for one reason only, and that is because Christopher Reeve, he gave it his all.
100%, yeah.
Taking this movie into account, because we're going to get around to the Donner cut eventually. We are going to get around to the Donner cut. This movie works, and I'll ask you guys if you agree or not. This movie works because of Christopher Reeve and the cast as a whole. Everybody delivering really great performances. I mean, Jeremy, we were talking about this yesterday. How do you feel about this, David?
I feel like everybody gives a 110% performance. Every character you can figure out really, really well the moment they're introduced. Hell, even Ma and Pa Kent, they're not on screen for a whole lot of the show. Of the movie, but you care about them. You acknowledge them. And being a guy from Kansas, I can tell you outright, there's still people just like Mom, Pa Kent all throughout Kansas. That's my favorite part about this. It felt like home.
Yeah, I mean, James, you're an old soul. You
a little bit.
You're the 86-year-old man.
You remembered.
Of course I remember. I got a steel trap memory with only a little bit of leakage. How long have you been enjoying this movie?
I think I watched this for the first time probably when I was like 4 years old, and I barely remembered it. And then I watched it again last year. And so I just realized there's some movies, I guess similar to Jed, but I watched them as a kid, but I was so young that I forgot it completely. So I might as well have not watched it. And so I went back. I have a watch list of 3,000 movies, and I watched it last year, and I was just in love, and it's just something special, and it's something missing from modern society and modern Hollywood, and just the hope and optimism and magic in this film does not exist anymore.
There is something about Christopher Reeve's Superman he gets it. He got it.
Yeah.
When he did it. It may not be a perfect adaptation of Superman lore, which is one of my criticisms of this, with my somewhat decent knowledge of all the Superman lore. But he is Superman in this. When he launches off, because now we were talking about this, I ended up watching the 3-hour cut. So I think I watched about a half hour more than everybody else did for this today. And I think
I tried, my disc broke.
And I think it's because I did, and most of it though is in the origin section of the movie. I think that's a lot of the extra stuff is put in there, and that took me about literally an hour to get through the origin stuff.
It was about the same for me, so maybe I watched the same cut as you.
Well, the origin is really long. Like they go through,
and
everything.
you know what? That's not a problem. Even though we might as well dive in right here. As usual, I have something of a plan, but I've got our jumping off point here. The whole origin. First of all, Marlon Brando. He's Marlon Brando, but I think the rumor is he didn't give a shit when he did his performance.
No.
Well, I mean, did you see how he pronounced Krypton?
Krypton.
I'm from Krypton.
He didn't give a shit, and he still gave it.
I know.
Still awesome.
So, that
apparently
speech he gave to Baby Clark.
He didn't even bother memorizing his lines at this point in his career. And going in, this was my second time watching it within a year, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't notice this on the first time last year, but you can see his eyes moving and scanning a script. Yeah, in his opening scene, you can see his eyes moving, and I'm like, oh God. There's rumors that like other cast members would have like the script like taped to their back, and so as he was like looking around, it was there. But he's great because he's Marlon Brando.
He's Marlon freaking Brando. I mean,
yeah.
There's a meme out there I know where two examples of people going into their roles and not giving a shit at all, yet freaking hitting it out of the park. Marlon Brando in this movie, and
Orson Welles.
Orson Welles, thank you. I was going to Orson Welles and Transformers '86.
I guessed it. Oh my God.
Yeah, you knew where I was going. My mind's moving faster. My mouth's moving faster than my mind could keep up. Yeah, two guys who couldn't give a shit about it, but nail it, knock it out of the park, and they become iconic. Yeah. And everything about his presentation, even though, now again, this is hindsight, looking at things that as we've gone on feature. I'm not a fan of the presentation of Krypton.
Really?
No, it looks like Hoth, and it's cold and scary. What's up with that?
I know,
it's so weird.
Yeah.
I wasn't huge on how it's been years since I last saw this movie. I wasn't huge on how they did the outfits for everybody because you could tell it's some sort of metallic material and the lighting and everything was just it was unsettling to the eyes. I still liked it. It just wasn't something I enjoyed.
I wanted to bring up the outfits because it's like it feels like a lot of this movie is coming off of Star Wars a year prior, and it's like we got to make space stuff for the space kids, and so we put them in spaceman suits, and it's like they look like tinfoil, and it doesn't age well at all. But I still love it. But it's like the cheese is there.
Dermy, you said that yesterday. The cheese, all of this. Go ahead, Jed.
I think this is going to be the point where I'm the odd man out. I expected. I have lots of criticisms for this movie as much as I enjoyed it. But none of it was about the beginning Krypton portions. I loved the design. I loved the technology, the crystal aspect, and the glowing suits. I could see what they were going for, especially with the change in color. It was obvious. Like, it wasn't any subtlety, but I could see some thought put into it. And I really enjoyed Krypton's design, everything with that. The one thing about the design that made me laugh was that baby Kal-El is getting poked by those crystals in that little bassinet thing he's in. He is getting bloody.
I see it brought up. Oh, Derby, go ahead. Go ahead.
Am I the only one that laughed when Krypton blew up? Because it stays on screen for like maybe 2 seconds too long,
maybe,
and then just blows up.
You're evil.
Yeah, no, it was
it's cheesy.
If you're laughing, it might be just how kind of weirdly violent their deaths are. Like they're falling into lava.
It takes a long time for everybody to die. It does.
Well, that's throughout the entire movie. Like at the end with Lois's death, I was shocked with how brutal that was. So Richard Donner did not want to shy away from how difficult a lot this is, even in the context of a child-friendly superhero cheesy film. And I really appreciate that. I think the moment that bothered me the most, like Dermy saying, is how the sun blows up and then a half second later the planet blows up and the explosions are the exact same time over top of each other. That part was very cheesy. So if that's what you're talking about, Dermy, I get it.
I mean, I see writer Albert Lanier says in the chat here that indeed this is not a comic accurate movie, and they get a lot of weird things wrong. Because at one point, Jor-El's talking about the 28 galaxies and Krypton. Another. I thought Krypton was in our galaxy.
I'm not sure, but this is an early enough film that they pulled stuff from this movie and actually put it into the comics. So I might be wrong on this, but I heard that Marlon Brando actually came up with the S is the house sigil or the family sigil, and now that's like a thing. I don't think that was in the comics.
Well, Man of Steel went to aggressive effort to make sure you knew that.
Hey,
like
I kind of like
things I like about Man of Steel.
The one thing I like from Whedon Cut is the S stands for frickin' hope and everything, because that's who Superman is. So I like that.
Don't get me started. Oh god.
Well,
no, we're not here to talk about.
Just real quick with Man of Steel as a comparison.
Okay.
Before I saw this film, I was okay with Man of Steel. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was just, you know what? It's fine. After watching this and seeing the potential,
you understand where it went wrong.
I hate Man of Steel so much.
I hate Man of Steel now. I really do. Especially with, I've heard about it from the comics, but I've never actually seen it in action, how important it is that John dies from a heart attack and not from a tornado. Because it teaches him a lesson that he forgets later on or goes against later on in the movie. Yeah. And there's consequences for it that no matter how powerful he is, there's a certain point where he's not going to be enough, and he needs to learn to accept that, just like every other human being. And
so, two things. One, have you spoken to Jeremy since you've come to this revelation?
No.
Does he know that you now hate Man of Steel?
He does not.
Well, he's going to give you a good pat on the back, I'm sure. Secondly, though, you understand there where Man of Steel went wrong in losing the spirit, and it makes me even angry all the time thinking that Henry Cavill could have been a new generation Superman with the smile and the wave. That's what I always say. I just wanted to see him in the red and the blue and the trunks with a smile or a wave or a salute. Every time I see Christopher Reeve do the smile, the wave, I smile. Even when I'm in the movie where I'm thinking, okay, these scenes drawing on too long here and there. And remember, most of my criticisms are going to be structural or very nerd centric about this movie. So understand that when I'm going to criticize it, that's where my criticisms are going to be. But whenever he's on screen, it's great. But you guys did mention family friendly, and Dermy knows where I'm going with this. There's a moment during his introduction montage where he's saving the day. So you guys all saw the moment where he takes the cat out of the tree and saves the girl. And for the girl, right?
Oh god, yeah.
She goes in the house.
Yeah.
She goes in the house. Mommy, a man flew down to help me. Don't you lie to me. Are you here?
I laughed so hard. I wasn't expecting that.
Great.
It came out of the blue.
Superman saves a girl's cat, and she gets beaten for it.
I got swarmed with hundreds of Zack Snyder bots last year because I defended that scene. Because they were all like, hey, you want your Superman boring, why don't you go watch 78? And I'm like, yes, I would rather have my Superman actually embody hope and the American way and be good. And then they swarmed me with this scene and saying, like, how dare you defend domestic abuse? And I'm like, what? And then
Superman wasn't pro-domestic abuse.
Yeah. He could have heard that slap and all. It's insane.
Here's the thing. Also, you realize he didn't use heat vision once in this movie.
I specifically noticed that.
Yeah, not once. And now Donner cut Superman 2, heat vision all over the place. It's used everywhere in that one. But in this one, use it. They were very, there's something you have to understand about Donner's Superman. They give him weird powers at times, and that's especially happens in Donner cut. So when we watch Donner cut,
small versions of him.
What?
Of himself? Can he make like small versions of himself or shoot himself out as hands?
What?
No. Well, or I don't know.
I don't know if that was in Donner, but that was a Superman thing. Like he could make tiny versions of himself.
Golden Age is wild, man. It had all sorts of wacky shit.
We're gonna save that for the Donner Cup. So they don't explore all of his powers because there's no freeze breath. We don't see that, honestly. I think until Superman 3. You don't see freeze breath until 3, where he freezes the lake and stops the chemical reaction thing from going on. So there's no heat vision. No, all we get is super strength, speed, flight, and X-ray vision and hearing in this. That's all you get in this. And now that's the basics.
Pink.
That's the basics. What? Pink.
Pink.
Pink. Pink. Pink. She asked.
Yes,
She
she
did.
But I went back to the whole little girl thing. That made me laugh so hard because I was like, damn, girl got slapped. Superman saved her cat. She gets slapped. You hear it.
It's an effective scene, and if you ignore the like comedic impact of that, because now modern audiences, they just want Joss Whedon quippy lines of dialogue in inappropriate scenarios. But like that scene before that, like really shows who Superman is, and it's just like he is willing to go out of his way just to save a cat for a little girl, and he's so Boy Scout, and he's so nice and sincere, and he feels like your neighbor throughout it all. It's just amazing.
I mean, you mentioned the dialogue, so that it's all appropriate. Everything he says, Superman, he says truth, justice, and the American way in this.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I love how actually, like, to be an opposite of that, he says that and he believes in that. But you have Margot Kidder as Lois Lane, and she is so good as Lois Lane, but she says, you're going to have to go after every elected politician in America in response to that. So she is more bitter, but it fits so well with her character as, like, you know, a journalist and a very go-getter female of the time and everything. So she is more bitter, black-pilled, if you will, and he's, like, actually still believing in everything. And they're just such a good pairing.
How bitter can she be when she's so thirsty?
She's
so thirsty.
Can you read my mind, Adam?
That scene, all right, that is one of the worst scenes in the movie. When her voiceover,
complaints. That's what.
Oh my god, that scene is before the voiceover. That was a great scene, very like Aladdin-esque later.
Yes.
Like it was a beautiful romantic scene. We didn't need any dialogue, and then that happened. I'm like, is this a musical now? I expect her to break out into internal song. It was awful.
I would have preferred a musical.
Listen, I actually everything is fine in there, and with that whole scene, except for that little inner monologue song.
Yeah.
Then also, all my life, I've had a problem with the holding hands flying part.
It doesn't make sense.
He can't transfer his flight to her because as soon as I can't.
There's a lot of instances in the movie where logic doesn't work in the slightest, even basic science. And of course, this is a superhero film.
Yes.
This is a fantasy film, so I'm not expecting hard science, but I do expect a little bit of effort to be put in. And most of my problems with the science come with Lex Luthor. We don't need to talk about his character quite yet.
We'll get to
some of the science with that, especially with Krypton and Kryptonite. It bothers me a lot.
It's a pretty big leap.
Not just that, but the fact that in 3 years an asteroid made it across multiple galaxies too.
Again, we'll get to that. So
I did want to mention, like, the science of him holding Margot Kidder by his pinky finger. I'm fine with that only because he does that the whole movie with literally everything. He's like, there'll be a 747 jet, and he's just like, boop, and it's like, shouldn't it be like breaking apart like in Superman?
The 747 has internal rigidity to it. Her bones, her muscles cannot do that because she's got to do it herself. The plane, that makes sense. It's metal. It can keep its structure, but she must have more strength than any human being on the planet in her arm to keep herself flat.
She's got the power of love.
Algrim was strong. Algrim was strong for a 13 months member chat. Thank you, good sir. Always glad to see you here. I'm a massive fan of OG Superman's story as told through the magic of Reeves' performance. He is still Superman. However, Man of Steel is the best standalone superhero movie I've ever seen.
Maybe the worst for me.
Well, hey. We respect all opinions. And I never hated it. I just felt sad. I feel sad watching. But thank you, Algrim, for your 13-month membership, for your support for over a year. Always glad to see you, my good friend.
I'm going to be nice. I'm not going to say anything.
Yep, we're going to be quiet. Thank you, Algrim.
I can't shut up, but yes, you're great. Thank you.
But let's jump back now for a second. Let's go back to the whole origin section. The Krypton part, we talked about that. My only problem is the whole now, why is it galaxies far away? How does he travel? How does he travel between galaxies in 3 years? And to Jed's point, how does the kryptonite meteor rocks follow him?
Well, I'm okay with him getting that far because it's implied faster than light travel.
And it was programmed. He was set course.
Yeah, that was fine. But yeah, the kryptonite following him is ridiculous, honestly.
Well, he was also in the comics. I believe he fell through a wormhole at one point. That's how he got there.
They don't talk about that in this movie.
Yeah, and it screws everything up because he lands as a baby and not as a 3-year-old in the comics.
Well, there's a lot of liberties taken with the lore, but I forgive it because this movie's made with the right intentions, and it follows through because there, as cheesy it can get, it's that good kind of cheesy where it's not insulting you. It's just, it's that era of how it thought it needed to ham up a comic type of thing. I think where you have Perry White is overly verbal in everything he says.
Oh, I love this version of Perry White.
I'm saying I think the cheesiness is just how at the time how they figured they had to adapt the comic, and that's why I forgive it because it's just that's the feel of it. And when you put in the work, the character work, it evens out and the scales balance. So we get.
While we're talking about the Daily Planet in the prologue real fast, this is more a question than an actual criticism. What the hell is with that bit at the beginning before Krypton where it's just randomly a theater and it's like, the people defending justice, the Daily Planet, fade to the opening credits.
I don't. That is
so weird.
They're referencing.
I love
Earth,
that actually.
They're referencing a lot of Earth history as he goes in there, and I guess that's Jor-El was preparing.
No. Before that.
You're talking about the comic opening, right?
Yeah. The very beginning, the opening moments right before the credits.
So I love that because to me, that's just saying, hey, we're respecting the character, we're respecting, the source and the essence of Superman. So it's just doing a cheesy, almost like Fleischer style intro to it, to be like, we understand that this is Superman. We're going into this understanding it's Superman. We're not going to, crap all over the character and everything. We're opening up with his first appearance being in 1938, showing a black and white comic to show the history. And this movie is sprinkled with that, like, throughout. Like, there is so many little nods to the history of Superman, like the phone booth.
I love the phone booth.
During his time as a teenager in Smallville, faster than a speeding train.
Yep. Well, if they were going for an homage, I think there was ways that they could tie it in better. Maybe in one of the original comics when they talked about Krypton for the first time, have the kid reading the portion about Krypton. It's like on a planet far away, known as Krypton, like tying it into what we're about to see instead of just this random aside that doesn't connect back for another hour.
Yeah,
I can appreciate the intentions, but the execution then
I think it's really like for the audience. It's like you're sitting down in the theater in 1978 and it's just like, hey, Superman fans, don't worry. We're showing the comic. We're showing his first appearance. This is like the curtains are kind of pulling. If you watch this in a movie theater, it's like that guy that comes out in the original Universal horror films and he's like, I got to warn you guys, what you're about to see is messed up. It's that kind of intro. So it's just like you're being introduced to a film. It's not actually like canon or happening in the movie or anything.
I agree with that. I mean, I just kind of turned my brain off for half a second while that was happening until we got to the theme and the theme begins, and we'll get to the soundtrack later.
Thank you. Okay, good.
We're gonna
you've got to do the soundtrack.
Oh well, it's John Williams,
of course.
Anyway, so we get in Smallville, and I'm okay with most of it because it's that whole, as Jed put it, you have to see that young Clark is struggling with knowing that he's different, controlling his powers, and why can't he do this? Why can't he do that? And then that moment where where Jonathan Kent has to die in order for him to and die right in front of him, and there's nothing he can do about it. And it's important, even though the kid they got to be young Clark was very stale. He had one expression.
Did you notice that he was redubbed by Christopher Reeves with all of his lines?
Really? No.
Yeah, it's a really good redubbing, but Christopher Reeve is a redub overall. Teen Clark's
they must
lines.
have altered the audio a little bit because I didn't pick it up.
Yeah, you can see his mouth a little bit mumble, but yeah, it's crazy.
While we're talking about the Kansas portion, I don't get what was with the Superman origin story showing naked baby Clark. Okay, Man of Steel, it was awful. This one, it's weird.
Give him a Krypton diaper, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, I know, or just lift the camera angle.
He was in that little, like, red and blue little metallic thing. Why
is
he not still wrapped
he had
around
a blanket when his
used
mom
his
put him
cape
in
as a diaper. Like,
is it wrong that when I realized I thought, man, he was just sitting in pee and poop for 3 years and everything. What's going on?
Yeah, well, thousands of years because Marlon Brando later on.
1,000 years. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it contradicts what Lex Luthor says later on.
It's just a way to be like, it's been time. It's a superhero movie. Shut up.
That's
their way of doing that.
Don't think about it. Don't think about it.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened. Like, what happened to Baby Clark? Like, what happened to that? Did he end up acting in anything else? That's where my brain went.
Yeah. That's a big criticism I have, is because he's supposed to touch down as a baby and then steadily learn that he has powers. He doesn't just come down and have powers.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I had an issue with that.
Here's the thing. Also, they talk about he's going to be faster, stronger than that. They do not mention that it's the UV lights, the yellow sun, that does it.
Marlon Brando mentions the atmosphere at the beginning, but not.
Doesn't
the sun.
say it's the sun. And again, I have modern day Superman lore at my disposal from when I started paying attention to stuff in the late 80s, early 90s. I don't have Golden Age lore. I don't know if this is if they were operating off if Yellow Sun was a part of the lore at that point. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, that's one of my biggest questions about this. We know they're not being comic accurate, but what was the comic lore in 1977, 1978 when they were making this movie? We know that he didn't always fly. It was always faster speeding bullet, faster speeding train, leap tall building, single bound, that kind of stuff. But
I think it was a lot of shoot from the hip. Like, for example, they left out the giant key in his Fortress of Solitude because in the Golden Age, he would have, like, only Superman can lift this giant freaking key to fit in this giant hole to get into his, keep out.
That stuff was rough with the Fortress of Solitude. It was just too cheesy for me. Like him throwing the green crystal in the water and waiting for it.
But that was such an improvement from the comics at the time.
My question is, how did he know to take that crystal and do that?
Thank you. That was my question.
So, I think they probably needed to do some more work, but because he randomly woke up one night to go find the crystal, like it was calling to him, and maybe there was some sort of the crystal said you need to go this way.
Right. Well, Cal, his dad does briefly mention that when he gets to the fortresses, it must be your 18th birthday. So the crystal probably had an activation in it for when he turned 18. I can get that far, but is there actual information that he's able to read? Is it saying something on a frequency like Lex Luthor? Yeah, like there needed to be a little bit more. I can get it activating and him finding it randomly one night, but after that, all reasonable justification goes out the window.
It must be that they already knew that this intro is so long and it's over an hour until we see Superman.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, we know this isn't making sense, but who's going to notice? They're going to be so freaking hyped when Superman appears on screen. They're not going to ask these questions.
We're nerds. We notice.
Yeah, exactly. That's a problem.
And I think some of this could be trimmed. I really liked a lot of the initial stuff, but that time could have been spent in replacing that god-awful training montage from inside the Fortress of Solitude while it's just galaxies and
the whole we're not going to spend 12 years doing this.
Yeah, it was like it's seriously been 12 years. I was surprised.
So this year we're going to learn what fast food is, and then we're going to learn what a telephone is, and it's like, oh my god. I wanted to say, I always hear the Goku comparison. Everyone always compares Superman to Goku, and I don't watch Dragon Ball, but watching this movie, I get it, because he's effectively in a hyperbolic time chamber and just slowly learning stuff over time. About the train scene, though, you guys will know if you watch the extended cut or not, if baby Lois Lane was in your version.
Lois was in there. I will be asking, how do you guys feel about, I guess I want to say, looks like 9-year-old Lois Lane, seeing him run alongside the train.
That was Lois Lane?
So that's only in the extended cut.
I saw the scene, but I didn't get the Lois part.
There's an extra point where they say, Lois Lane, don't make things up.
Oh, no.
Okay. Oh, she also got smacked.
No, she didn't get smacked.
She got scolded, not smacked. Yeah. So I tried watching last night the extended cut for the first time. I own this version, which is awesome, but it's literally broken. So my theatrical cut will freeze when Lex Luthor is getting out of his pool. So then I'm like, let's watch the extended cut for the first time. And this one, it froze when he gets back to the Fortress of Solitude. So I'm like, okay, they're just botched. So I only got to watch half of the extended, but
All right, so that's how I knew. I definitely did watch the extended cut then.
So the Lois Lane thing was a little bit forced and unnecessary. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that's like that, like Martha Clark Kent. It's a little forced.
Yeah, it's like, I guess we know where we got the Clark. Now, is that legitimate? Is that lore? Was her maiden name Clark?
I don't think so. I think that was just an excuse to be like, where do you get his name? Similar to how does Batman get his cape or something, like the over explanation that we see in superhero films. And it's like, we don't need to know. You just like the name Clark. That's enough.
Yeah,
move
that's
on.
fine.
Clark? No, I've never asked.
Maybe that's
Clark
a Kansas thing.
Huh?
I'm not gonna lie, that might be a Kansas thing because there's a lot of us. I mean, there's a lot of people that like their middle names become the first.
I mean, that's common in a lot of places.
Yeah, I just.
I don't know. Well, all right. So we get through the whole origin thing, and let's be honest. This is the first time as a first true comic superhero movie. I know that Flash Gordon came out a little bit earlier, and Flash Gordon is also a comic, but Flash Gordon is more of a hero, not a superhero. He's a pulp hero. They will claim us if we mention that theme.
If you even mumble it.
So I don't. This is the first true superhero movie that we get, and I think Richard Donner and I have you guys. You see, I have Lethal Weapon in the intro for this show. I love Richard Donner as a director and a filmmaker.
Fantastic.
He's great. He makes great movies. Made great movies. R.I.P. Richard Donner. But I think he wanted to play it safe and realize that everybody knows Superman, but maybe not everybody knows where Superman came from, which is why he went with this very long introduction origin section. And while I am a little bored with the introduction section, once again, the heart is in the right place. It's not as though it's origin for the sake of origin. It's origin because I think he wanted to make sure people understood the key tenets of Superman, and they get it across. You can't save everybody. You have to understand you're different. You have to control yourself. You can't just be the football star, which I always thought was a mistake in Smallville when they had him be a football star, just controlling it. I thought that was not a good representation of Clark expressing his powers in that. But I appreciate because it's respect. It boils down to respect. Richard Donner was still showing respect to the key important moments that crafts Clark Kent with those American values, those truth, justice, and American way values that allows him to be Superman, to be the big blue Boy Scout. So how do we feel then about overall the origin introduction that goes on for an hour?
Go ahead.
James,
go,
go
Judge.
first.
Sorry.
James,
I heard a lull and I'm excited. I'm sorry.
You're the guest, James. You may go first.
No, I love it, and I feel like if you show it to a lot of younger kids, they're gonna fall asleep and be like, "Boring. Where's the action?" But I think it's something important to learn. I think they went with it so long with the Krypton stuff because Christopher Reeve at the time wasn't a big actor. He became known for Superman, and I just personally love that when, even if it hurts their career, similar to Mark Hamill with Luke Skywalker, you become so iconic with a role that is you forever. So they wanted someone, because this movie, I might be wrong, but this might have been like the most expensive movie at the time ever, but if not, it was close. And so they're like, okay, we need to pump this up. This is huge. We're competing with Star Wars, which kind of came out of nowhere. So we're going to get Marlon Brando, the biggest actor ever. But we're not going to have him play Superman because he's old, fat, and tired. So we need an hour intro of him botching his lines, and that's how we're going to get people in. So I think that's why it's partially so long, is I think it's a production side thing. But I also think that Donner really made it work and made it captivating. If you actually can pay attention to movies that slowly roll out a plan and everything, it builds up excitement. Just stay off your phone and watch it. It builds excitement. And that time where it gets to the point where you're actually seeing Superman and you see him fly for the first time, it's just like, there he is. Thank you. And it's so exciting to see after watching him literally go from an infant baby all the way up to a man. And so I get that it's not going to be for everybody, but I think it made sense in 1978. And I think if you actually take the time to be patient, it pays off wonderfully.
Jeremy?
I started watching this actually like before Ballbusters last night. because I thought I had plenty of time. And as I'm sitting there watching, it's like, come on, hurry up, hurry! I don't actually want. I want to finish this before I do Ball Busters. Come on, because I got so enthralled with it. I didn't want to walk away. Even all the slow parts, I loved every second of it, no matter how cheesy it got. Cloak power.
I'm with everyone else on this. The prologue is a little bit long, but there's a justification for it, especially with, as been mentioned in the chat, Superman 1 and 2 were made at the same time.
Yes.
So it would make sense. Similar to the explanation for why the ending of Return of the King is so long is because it's really one film and it's ending all three films simultaneously. So there is a justification for it. I do believe that there are better ways that they could have gone about several things, little ways to clean up the writing and whatnot, but overall, I'd say the prologue, with the exception of Christopher Reeve's performance, is my favorite part of the film because as we get into the other acts, the stuff with Lex Luthor, I have massive issues with. So the prologue, I think, would, even with all those, length, time constraint issues, I think is my favorite part of the film.
And that's just an important thing to understand. It, as I said, it's done with respect. There was respect all over it. It doesn't treat the audience, and Jeb, we talk about this all the time. It doesn't treat the audience like an idiot.
True.
The exposition we get is woven in properly. It's done where the characters are actually having an interaction, and you're seeing when Jonathan Kent is telling him, "You were brought here for a reason. You have all these problems." You're not feeling annoyed because you're seeing a father and a son having a father-son moment after the son just watched the girl he liked have to drive away with another dude, and borderline heartbreak, and then he cheers him up, and he wants to go play with a dog, and then he has a heart attack.
And that scene is so special as well, and it blows the doors off of anything Man of Steel. I hate you, Zack Snyder, because it's just the way he says that one line where he's like, "Son, you were meant to do more than just play football. Like, why are you concerned about football with everything? Like, you were gonna do great things." But how he delivers it, I'm not even doing it justice. Just the real homely Kansas feel to it is just so beautiful, to the point where I'm like, I know it's too long, but can I get more? I want to see more of the Kents because they're so lovely.
I do think you kind of need just a tad bit more of Pa
You
Kent.
didn't get enough Kent family. I think they could have done without some of the teenage angst stuff and maybe give us a little more Kent family. I would have liked if they had gone one more scene of Kent stuff and then the heart attack. Not right. We all know the heart attack is coming, or some death of Jonathan Kent. Granted, not all versions do it. I mean, you watch in the Dini versus Tim verse, Pa Kent's still alive in this one.
Yeah,
he lives. He's alive in this one. He was alive in the Adventures of Lois and Clark. He was alive. So there can be iterations where he lives and he still passes on the proper knowledge that Clark needs to know that he can't do everything. But this is the true version where Jonathan Kent dies and he has to learn that lesson. As we said, he can't save everybody, but it does it well and with the respect option of it. And that's why I'm okay with the whole thing. I agree, though. They could have shortened a little bit in there. But as was mentioned, because these are two movies were filmed at the same time, I like seeing the Zod stuff. Parents,
with the exception of them being in that pane of glass.
It's so cute.
It's so
Phantom Zone.
It's the original Phantom Zone.
I really like that scene, the trial, the conversation. I mean, it's kind of aggressive foreshadowing, but I do like it. But just the actual pane of glass. I know they're in the Phantom Zone, but just seeing them all, it's too cheesy. It's too much.
It up. Now,
I want to know if audiences knew there was a sequel filmed at the same time.
I don't think so. They didn't know.
That's so cool and
I didn't
not
know.
common at the time. Marvel does it all the time now, but to have the opening scene, you don't even realize those are going to be the badass motherfuckers in the future. That is awesome for 1978.
Yeah, there was no stinger. There's nothing in there to say that it's going to happen. You're getting this. All you know is, there's Zod, and he's trapped in the Phantom Zone with his cronies. And we're gonna get that later, and it's the way it is. It's the way it is. And Jed, when we get to the Donner Cut, you're gonna have a problem too with the fact that the Phantom Zone thing made it all the way to Earth.
Well,
made it all the way there.
My version broke at this point, but they explain it in the extended cut, Adam. I believe, because I don't want to.
They get caught up in the wake of his thing. So I guess you can. They show you. It's show don't tell. They show you that Kal-El's pod bumps into the Phantom Zone mirror, and you want to assume that they're pulled into the wake with it. So
I
think that's not in the theatrical cut, but it should be.
Legata says they knew back then. Okay.
Audiences knew? Yeah, I'm super curious because I might be 86, but I wasn't alive in 1978, believe it or not. So.
Yeah, neither was I.
I definitely wasn't.
Jeremy says I'm old all the time. All right. Legatus, please take care of that. Time that out, please. So it is not. It's not bad to see Zod in the beginning.
So good.
I love seeing Zod, of course. Then knowing that we're getting more of it later. Kneel before Zod. Your
and he even
heirs will bow before me.
Yes, it's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's Terrence Stamp. This when you get good actors and the performances. And listen, there are between Superman and Superman Donner's cut. There's so much iconic things that is 40 years later, 50 years, almost 50 years later. This stuff has stood the test of time. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Legatus, time this person out, please.
But yeah, and it's so funny because I actually haven't watched Superman 2 yet, and I really, really want to. But I own it. It's right here if it works. But Zod's performance in this, for the little bit you see him, is so powerful. Like, all the actors, as Jeremy was saying, do such a good job. But you see such a little bit of Zod, and already I'm so much more captivated than Man of Steel Zod. Like, he's not screaming and crying. Like, he has a presence. You feel like he believes what he's saying and everything. And it's just, and him trying to convince Marlon Brando to be like, join us is just wonderful. I love how the judges feel like villains themselves. Like, nobody is really a good guy on Krypton. Superman is a good guy, but it's because of who he is.
Kryptonians were jerks.
Yeah.
Kryptonians were jerks.
They're evil aliens.
They were good people. That's one thing some of these modern iterations get right. Kryptonians were not good. They're assholes.
They're like elitists. Yeah, it's crazy.
They're assholes. So we get to the Antarctic, and we get the Fortress of Solitude. We already mentioned that. My problem here is I don't like the fact that he went into this 12-year bubble, and he didn't live among the people before we get to the night, because this movie starts in the 1950s and it takes us through the 60s and lands us at the end of the 70s. That means like basically Clark was in a bubble through the entire Vietnam War.
Good for him.
I got
it is a problem, especially with as soon as he gets out, he's just with the Daily Planet, apparently has all the credentials necessary, and he's in what's his bucket White's good graces. I think it was important that he be amongst the humans, not being just Kansas. The Kansas upbringing is essential to Superman's story, his traditional values, but his Clark persona needed to be built. That wasn't a thing in Smallville. He wasn't, the hunched over, the dichotomy that Christopher Reeves does so brilliantly.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that.
But he had to build that in Metropolis, as far as I'm aware. So if you skip the 12 years where he would be doing that, that creates a problem.
You mentioned Metropolis, and here's one of my major criticisms of the movie. They were really lazy using New York City footage and calling it Metropolis.
I mean,
what?
Most
Statue of Liberty.
Can I be biased and just be like, it is lazy and wrong, and I criticize the Christopher Nolan Batman films for not being Gotham and they're just city. But I kind of love it because I love old America, and it's like, oh, it's nice to see the
World
Twin
Trade
Towers.
Center and the Empire State Building. They fly by the Statue of Liberty during date night.
So I'm like, I get it's stupid, but I love it. It works now.
And because we have to remember, DC, while it is in real world America and has makes up its cities, the actual city still exists in America. And unlike Marvel, where they don't make up the cities, they do make up country, but they don't make up cities. But it's Metropolis isn't New York.
And Gotham isn't a Newark.
Yeah,
Chicago
I mean, yeah.
thing.
Fuck you, Zack Snyder, on that. Fuck you.
I've always thought of Gotham as being Boston. I don't know
I always
why.
thought Gotham was
see that.
Chicago. I always thought Gotham was Chicago.
Whatever is the dirtiest city in America, times that by 10. That's
well,
Gotham.
Boston has a lot of the gargoyle, the more gothic designed architecture. That's kind of why I made that connection.
And I mean, what would Metropolis? I mean, Metropolis is supposed to be near Kansas. It's supposed to be within striking
St.
distance.
Louis.
I don't think
I've always thought a central city.
It's a
with
central
the Flash
city.
Was St. Louis.
Metropolis has always been kind of hard to nail down because it does have a port and everything like that.
Yeah, but they shifted in so many narratives, in so many iterations. That's a problem.
And St. Louis would be a good explanation to put a Metropolis.
I don't know if it's big enough.
I don't.
It's like Simpsons and Springfield. It's not the actual Springfield. It's just somewhere. It's somewhere in America, and you don't really need to know it. But it's
But it's not New York City. It's not New York City, and
it's not.
And you can tell that. And listen, they got around it with a little homage. The Daily Planet. It's just the marquee in front of the building, and then on Perry White's desk, you see the classic Daily Planet globe, as opposed to it being the building with the giant globe on top.
Well, they have a globe inside the building itself.
Well, maybe I wasn't looking.
Yeah, when they were leaving at the end of the first
building?
day, there's a big round.
I was
area
looking
with a
at
globe
them.
in
I
it.
wasn't looking at the building. I wasn't looking at interior. So I was watching. I was honestly, I was captivated by the Christopher Reeve Clark Kent performance at that point, because I was enjoying his goofy farm boy nature.
Yeah, and I want to say to anyone that says, "Oh, how can nobody tell that Clark Kent and Superman aren't the same person?" Watch this movie, because Christopher Reeve's performance is just insane. He just slouches a little bit, puts on the glasses, acts all like, "Whoa, hello,"
and you notice it.
And it works.
You notice it immediately when after they have date night and he shows up as Clark. When she leaves the room to go get her jacket, just whoop.
I love that moment.
That was good. All right,
incredible.
so let's
and real world experiments have been done to prove that it could work. I mean, Henry Cavill during the premiere of Man of Steel put on a Superman shirt and glasses and walked around Times Square and no one recognized him. Not a single person.
Man. It's great. It's that old adage. If you walk with a certain level of confidence, and even though you're not supposed to be someplace, it's the aura you project, and people automatically think you belong there. So it's about projecting a certain atmosphere around yourself. And the atmosphere of Clark Kent is, I'm humble, I'm goofy, I'm not confident. You don't really want to look at me too closely, because frankly, you don't want to look at somebody who's that meek, even though they're that tall. You don't want that. And then you takes off the glasses, and it's really Superman. But let's talk about. We're here. We're now. He has gotten out from training. He's now in Metropolis, new city Metropolis, and he is Clark Kent. And we haven't even seen Superman yet. Christopher Reeve's performance is now he is here. We got 2 hours left of the movie, and we get what is. And I will agree with this. People say this all the time. It is the definitive Clark Kent Superman.
Yeah,
because it's got all the right characteristics. Christopher Reeve, and we know this for a fact, he put everything into this. He wanted this to be perfect because he believed in the character.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Adam, like you said, every time Superman talks, you just smile, and it's almost like bittersweet, because like I said, this is so missing from modern movies, is this sense of hope and optimism and like just positivity, and that's what Superman represents. I love Batman. Batman's my favorite thing ever, but if everyone is Batman, then Batman isn't Batman. You need that polar opposite, and that's what this Superman embodies. This is the best Superman. I mean, this is why they pretty much made a whole movie dedicated to that performance, and I like that movie a lot too. I love Brandon Lee.
I can't handle that movie.
I like it as an homage to this movie, but that shows how powerful this film is, that they did a whole movie as a like, look, we're continuing it. But yeah, it's just he is so freaking good in this, and everything. Like, I think one of the best scenes is the scene where they get robbed, him and Lois get robbed, and there's so much under the surface of that being like, well, he knows has to act like, oh, Lois, give him your purse and all that stuff, but it's like he's got this. He knows
he still gets in front of her though. It's Clark. He still stands in front of her.
Exactly. He gets in front of her to protect her, but then he's still acting meek. So if the guy does shoot, he's got this. But it's just there's so many different layers, and then the wink at the camera effectively.
Yeah. When he catches the bull, it's like.
I love it. That is a great scene. One of my favorite as well.
So the best part is like he's actually still being Superman and trying to teach this criminal about the morals of like what's good, what's bad. And it's like, hey, maybe turn your life around. And it's like, I have a gun in your face, sir. What are you doing? So that's a little bit of a Superman coming out of Clark there. It's just every little beat in that scene perfectly shows to me how good Christopher Reeve is as Clark and Superman, because he's both back and forth ping-ponging between them.
Jed, this was your first experience. You've heard it a lot in our circles about the Christopher Reeve Superman. Watching it now for yourself in all its original glory, the first outing of it. How do you really feel now after seeing all that? And how do you feel about him? And
it's Christopher Reeves himself that makes this film a classic, a superhero film that people watch for years to come, and made the genre, I think, so viable, the superhero genre so viable. It's his performance, because it's perfect. I have lots of criticism of this film, and there's not even a single moment where I can criticize Christopher Reeves. From the simple moments as Superman, he saves Lois Lane from the helicopter, and then he spends the rest of the night just helping people in simple situations like the cat or big over-the-top ones.
And you notice every time he does something, going all the way to the when what is supposed to be the Hoover Dam breaks, and or I think it's the Hoover Dam. What the dam? We'll just go to the dam. The dam breaks. After he saves everybody, the first thing he says is everybody okay? That man needs help. In every instance where there are others there, it's always what's Superman. He's not just thinking about himself or even the person around him. It's always, I'm Superman. I'm making sure everybody is okay.
Yeah, what a crazy thought. Superman caring what happens to other people during
instead of going on through a rampaging fight through the city, not giving a shit.
Oh God!
But
Jeremy, I see you ready. Go. I thought I saw you leaning forward to say something. Or you just shifting your chair?
No, I was thinking and readjusting.
Okay.
I'm
just happy to be here.
One, I'm just happy to be here. Two, I'm just thinking, it is nice to have Superman go from person to person to person, just helping out. Even if it kind of bites him in the butt and weird stuff happens there towards the end, but he still just tries to help everybody. No matter what, he just is going around saving the day. He's stopping the dam. He's fixing all this shit that's gone wrong because the weird plan that Lex Luthor had. That don't like Lex Luthor in this at all, by the way.
We're gonna move on. Let's finish. I like Gene Hackman.
Yes,
I like Gene Hackman.
Good distinction.
Yeah.
But we'll get it. Let's finish Reeve and his portrayal of Clark Superman. It's a breath of fresh air. And I'm Jed, as someone who saw this for the first time this week. In everything we've seen, it has to have really been literally a breath of fresh air for you to watch a superhero, one of the most three iconic superheroes in modern nerd history, after Batman and Spider-Man, to have him seen portrayed with just the pure positive nature. It must have just been wow. Why can't we have this anymore?
Oh, absolutely. It's very refreshing, as you said, because our society and entertainment in specific is so obsessed with nihilism these days. And that's one reason I love Star Trek so much, because it's a sci-fi future where it's just fundamentally positive. And it's so rare that I have to embrace it. Just like Doctor Who, one quote that I bring up from Doctor Who all the time is from the second episode of Christopher Eccleston's run, End of the World, when he's talking to Rose. They're looking at Earth about to be destroyed, and it's 5 billion years in the future. And he says, human beings, you're so obsessed with death and think that you're not going to make it, that, beef global warming or asteroids is going to destroy you. But you never consider the impossible, that you make it, that you survive. And that mentality, which I think is shared with this film, is so rare that it makes you want to smile. It gives you hope for more than just the story. And that's the purest form of escapism, I think. None of us are putting ourselves over Clark. None of us are relating to the character in the way that modern people do. We don't see ourselves in Clark necessarily, and we're not thinking about our everyday lives. So it is escapism, but it gives us hope for our everyday lives. That might be a little too over the top and corny, but I mean, it fits with
you're
this
not wrong.
cheesy film.
That's what
But,
Superman's supposed to do, though. He's supposed to
Yeah.
inspire hope and realize there's good out there. And even though he's not, maybe there isn't really Superman's going to save the day, we can all have a bit of that positivity and do that little thing to help somebody out. He's supposed to represent the best of us, even though he's not one of us. That's the key.
He's a god amongst humans.
Yeah. He lives in a world of cardboard. So it's uplifting. And that's what this, even though this movie, it's a toned down superhero movie when you look at it, it's still uplifting because every moment he's on the screen, would you think that a 6'4", as he's at the time he says 225-pound man in the blue and the red trunks, do you think you're actually okay with that? And you realize that I'm looking at this and you're realizing, yeah, I'm fine. I'm smiling every time he is on the screen.
Give me the goddamn red undies.
Red trunks,
red
baby.
undies. I need the red boots. I need this outfit.
The trunks. I mean, I would look like a dumbass. But if it's Superman or Batman in their respective trunks, it kind of works.
Well, his actions speak louder than the uniform, and so people immediately start accepting it, and he becomes like, a cult of personality. They think it's weird when they first hear about it. You have that police officer that wants to report it and be like, this man in red boots came and everything, and he's like, go to the bar, I'll meet you down there. And then they see it, and it's like, oh my god,
it's basically,
get my hat.
Hi, how you doing? What?
Yeah.
Let me get my hat.
Yeah. And then the way, and I always remark on this: the wave and the salute. I love the wave, the smile, or the it hits you, and you love it, and you feel good. So this is why 40 years later, 45 years later, 46. My math. I'm not Asian. I can't do the math. It's why it still works. And it's why we had such high hopes for somebody like Cavill. Yes, I forgot his name for half a second. Like Cavill. I tried to cover this.
Henry
Cavill. Why, as someone who, like Christopher Reeve, looked the goddamn part, wanted to be Superman, wanted to give the most, while we just wanted him to have a good script. We didn't hate Henry Cavill. We hated the world he got dropped into.
Yeah.
That's what was so frustrating.
Absolute waste.
Smile, wave, be positive. Don't have this air of fear that people know. That's what this movie, everybody sees Superman in this movie and they're happy. And they're inspired. And they know, shit, Superman's here. Hey, look at Superman. Not
even
oh my
even the
God.
criminals are in awe of him.
Yeah.
Like, all he has to do is stand there and be like, you know what you're doing is wrong, fellas, and they're just like, all right, here, take the money. I'll go to prison now. Like, it's incredible. Like, he carries a presence through everyone else's performance around him. The music, it's just everything coming together just swells
And
perfectly.
that final scene as he flies over Earth and just smiles at you and flies off screen. It's like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for inspiring me with hope, and thank you for making me feel good and for being a positive influence. Because you're a superhero. Superhero.
That's so perfect, because it does feel like you just saw him in Metropolis inspiring people and spreading hope and positivity. And then that final scene, that's the only scene where he looks really at the camera directly. And it almost feels like, now carry this on as you leave the theater in your own lives. Carry this on in your own heart and go forward. And it's so good.
It's a proper fourth wall break where it's the movie's over. Thank you. Now, I'm Superman says goodbye, and I want you to feel what we just did with this. All right, we brought it up. Let's move on to I like Gene Hackman. I love Gene Hackman. Fantastic actor. Hackman. Every performance, no matter what it is, Hackman puts out an outstanding performance every single time, and his performance is great. But
that's what I like. Yeah.
here's my
Definitely
question.
not Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Spaz Luther. We don't want to talk about Spaz Luther. But here's my thing though. Once again, I now call into question what era of lore are we drawing on? Because now remember, this is coming out of the 70s where we had the cartoon Super Friends. So we've seen supervillain Lex Luthor in action in animation at this point. Was Super Friends 70s or 80s? Hang on, wait a minute.
Superman?
Super Friends. Super Friends.
Super Friends.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Justice. Meanwhile, with the
cartoon.
Legion of Doom.
1973.
Okay, so we've already had a decade almost of the Super Friends where we've seen his iteration of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman going up against Luthor and the Legion of Doom. So we've seen criminal Lex Luthor. But in that era of the comics, was there big business Lex Luthor, LexCorp, as the facade for his criminal activities? Did that exist, or was it just criminal Lex Luthor at this point? Because before I make my statements, I'm just curious about this.
Yeah, it's a good question. This Lex Luthor feels like they took a villain of the Batman Adam West series, but let's make him a little bit more serious kind of thing. So it's like 1 degree tonal shift, and so it's not like a wacky, cheesy Vincent Price in a bald cap. It's Gene Hackman in a bald cap.
But it's a very good bald cap.
It is.
And
You
they
couldn't carry it the whole
changing
movie.
They keep changing the toupee over and over
I
again.
love that little detail. That was a fun detail.
I think the hair throughout his movie is his hair that they just restylized. Yeah,
Probably,
because he refused to go bald, and it's like, okay, we got to work around this. He wears toupees now. But yeah, I mean, the comics of that time, someone who's a bigger Superman fan can correct me in the chat. They were all over the place. They were still finding themselves in a lot of ways. They were going through puberty. But yeah, it's like, we got to make it more serious, but we're not at Joker level yet. We're not at Jack Nicholson Joker, even though this movie opened the door for that movie. So it's a slow dial to go dark. And so
I'm not asking for dark. I'm just asking, what I was hoping for is, I feel like I'm having trouble taking this Lex Luthor seriously is my problem. Because he's living under what their version of Grand Central Station, and in this with his hot girlfriend and a bumbling stooge. Now, Ned Beatty, great character actor for decades. We love Ned Beatty, but this is supposed to be Lex Luthor, possibly one of the smartest men on planet Earth.
Yeah,
and you're letting this stooge do stuff for you.
This is his downfall. Is Lex is super smart, but he's so full of himself in this version. He constantly is just like, I'm so great. I could read bubblegum wrappers and invent science or whatever. But like, he's so full of himself that he surrounds himself with idiots that we know how that goes.
Well, Tess Walker's not an idiot. She's just thirsty.
Oh God! Wait until I yell about that part. You tell me.
I have thoughts about her part too.
Yeah, I thought about her being wet like that. Okay, I thought a lot of thoughts about that.
So I like Lex. I don't know how accurate it was to the comics at the time. I'd love for someone who knows.
I'm trying to look it up.
But Gene Hackman is so good.
It's Hackman's performance, and that is why I forgive a lot of this, because we go back to what I said earlier. The performances. Gene Hackman, he is just chewing scenery every minute. And when it's him and Christopher Reeves face-to-face, mano-a-mano, it's a great back and forth.
Yes.
They're both committing to it. You're not going to get away with this, Luthor. Oh, but I have.
Yeah, so good.
So we've got that whole... So I love his performance, but his whole thing, I understand that it's all about money in the end. He wants to destroy a section of the country, which by now, modern day, we'd all be going, maybe let Lex do it.
I was thinking the same thing, unironically.
I mean, we'll send some rescue evacuation helicopters and planes for some of the people we know who live out there who we'd like to get out of there. But maybe let it.
Maybe let it happen.
Okay, so
all right, go ahead, Jeremy. You got it.
I'm looking it up. I just looked up his first outing in Action Comics number 23. He used to live in a flying city in his first outing. So I don't think him being underground would be very is very comic accurate. That
I'm
still looking it up. I'm not
for
seeing
me. It's like the
LexCorp
LexCorp issue, either LexCorp or LuthorCorp, whichever one you want to call it.
LexCorp.
LexCorp. I mean, I always say LuthorCorp because of Smallville. That's part of it's. Just it's in there. It's part. Whenever I go to it, that jumps in front of LexCorp for some reason. I don't know why. But it's go ahead. Go ahead.
I think part of the thing is when it comes to Lex Luthor, and a lot of this movie is coming from Golden Age and action comics, not outright DC itself. So that might have a thing to do with it. Because the more I'm looking into this, it kind of looks like Lex was only ever in one comic.
Mm-hmm. He ate 40 cakes though.
Well, then remember, Super Friends had been in action for 6 years at this point. So you've seen supervillain Lex Luthor in the Legion of Doom. And I think they didn't want to go that ham, in an evil super suit, plotting for the world takeover. No, he just wants to destroy a section of the United States and become really wealthy and make his own little mini kingdom there.
He's playing real life Monopoly, pretty much. That's his ultimate.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And that part of it, like his motivations are fine enough. It's
That's
more
clear.
his plan that I have an issue with, because like you said with LexCorp, he's clearly a very wealthy man to the point that he's buying up a bunch of property in Arizona and whatnot, but he's not wealthy enough to have anyone else besides himself and his two friends go hack the
Where's
nuke.
Mercy? Where's Mercy?
Mercy is so good. Well, we get insert horny Mercy in this one.
But the U.S. government does not just randomly drive down the road with nuclear bombs and two cars.
Here's the
and
thing.
his plan depended upon them doing that.
And these were nuclear missiles. So if a nuclear missile hit the San Andreas fault line, everything's irradiated. And when he went back in time, when he rotates the Earth, the missile still hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything else still happens, but her car's still in the exact same spot. So the avalanche should still happen.
Are we yelling about the time travel now?
We're not there. We'll get there. I'm saving it.
We'll get there.
Okay. We'll get there.
But all his property would be worthless because it's irradiated.
It's irradiated. At least
a lot of it.
That section where it hit would be. They don't mention the fact that was a nuclear missile.
And why did he send a missile to New Jersey?
No, they didn't send it.
That was an accident.
That was an accident. That was because of Otis. Otis set in the wrong coordinates.
That's almost worse.
Yes, and that's why I say, why is Otis there?
No. What I mean is worse is her mom's living there, and that's why she betrays Lex. So Otis's mistake saves Superman and saves the world, or saves California.
But it leads to that great scene where he checks his watch, and it's just like, but my mom lives there, and he's like, it's like, no, she doesn't. She did.
That was a great performance. I loved how he did that. Yeah,
that's Hackman, and Hackman sells it. Even though, and I in the chat I see it, I do not like this version of Lex Luthor. He's
an idiot.
I like his attitude, his overconfidence. I like the fact that he sets a great trap for Superman. That's great. But when you dig deeper, we think over a second. His leap of logic and calling it kryptonite and that it's going to be a weakness, I don't know where does it come together that a piece of a meteor, a piece of Krypton irradiated would weaken him.
And how did it get there in 3 years across galaxies? I can get Clark getting there in 3 years across galaxies.
Well, it was thousands ish, maybe.
But
Marlon Brando's like thousands.
That contradicts what Lex said. He specifically said Krypton blew up in 1943.
Oh, damn it, Lex. Stop pointing in plot holes.
Yeah, I know. Come on.
I'm Team Brando. It was thousands of years.
That's a little rough. And
even thousands of years is not enough to go across multiple galaxies.
Yeah, and galaxies. That's my biggest problem with that. Galaxy.
If it was 3 years, you'd be lucky for it to have blown up in our solar system.
So
I'm fine with that because it's the same movie where we saw the spaceman wrapped in tinfoil, and so that's kind of the mentality of the creators of the time. It's just like, it's space shit. It happened because space. Keep it going. But yeah, if the character performances weren't so good in this movie, that would stick out like a sore thumb for me. That's probably why I like Lex. I didn't realize it until you guys said it, but it's like I like Lex because of Gene Hackman.
Yes.
If you had a basic actor just reading those lines verbatim, I would be putting a gun to my head. But because Gene Hackman is delivering every line so beautifully, I'm just there being like, yes, you're stupid. Give me more. I want more of this.
He makes it fun. And that's the bottom line. Hackman in his performance makes it fun, which is why we're forgiving, because it's, even though it's not a full version of Lex Luthor that I like, it's still Lex Luthor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not all the way in there. And but it's just, the little things. I told you guys, my criticism would come from being a nerd, not because I'm angry or displeased. Just I'm gonna give you nerd criticisms here, and that's where I'm from with that. Yeah. I mean, Dermy, you said you didn't really like it.
I didn't. So I like Gene Hackman.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that portrayal, that if he was a everyday villain or like a different villain other than Lex Luthor, I would have been perfectly fine with it. When I look at Lex Luthor, I see more of a suave, sophisticated kind of businessman that doesn't team up with a nincompoop and everything like that. He's very cold and calculating. He's a genius.
Yes.
And I didn't
12th intellect genius.
Yes, I didn't like how they kind of portrayed him that way. That he's just he's smart, but he's just a criminal.
Yeah, and that's
like being very
you hit it on the nose.
calculated.
I don't like it that he's just being, I'm a criminal. I'm the greatest criminal genius. No, I want giant megalomaniac Lex Luthor who is a businessman pretending to be great for the world, but is in fact a fucking supervillain who is plotting to control the world and destroy shit. That's what I want, and I want all the power of LexCorp at his command, so that he can do all this shit, not hiding in abandoned tunnels underneath Grand Central Station. That's with goons that suck.
I like Otis. He's so dumb and lovable. It's great.
He's always eating.
I know he can.
So this is gonna be actually a modern day commentary. Otis is supposed to be obese, and Lex Luthor even makes a comment on it, like he's morbidly obese, he's comical and everything, and he only weighs 200
Ned Beatty
pounds.
was just a normal middle-aged dude there. He was not fat.
Oh,
What was obese then is not obese now.
Yes,
that line though,
point.
Dermy, was wild. It's like, do you know why the number 200 is so relevant to both you and I? It's my IQ and your weight. It's like, okay, and
I'm over 200 pounds. I mean, I'm not obese. I'm a little overweight. I could be in better shape, but no.
But James pointed it out. It's like times have changed. That back then that was considered obese and stuff like.
There's a lot in this film that you have to put yourself in the mindset of 1978.
Yes.
This is why I love films. I can watch films going back to the silent era and have a blast. You have to watch a movie and be like, I'm being transported back in time.
Oh, not once am I thinking, oh, this could have been solved with a smartphone. Never once do I think that in any of this. I'm never. Because I like you, I can put myself in the era this was written in and made.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Also because I come from that era.
On that note, I would love to show this movie to Gen Z to show like the Lois and Clark romance. I don't know if you want to get into
Let's
this.
go into that. All right, let's jump to that. All right,
it's so good.
Margot Kidder.
I'll be your Gen Z representation.
How do we
for
feel
this.
about Margot Kidder as Lois Lane?
She's a bitch.
Fucking awesome. Okay.
She's awesome. She's a bitch. I'm over here like she's
an awesome bitch.
I didn't say she wasn't awesome. I love her, but I would go crazy dating her. I could never date her, but I like her as a character. Like, she's well written. It makes sense besides her voiceover cringy part.
Yeah.
And
now let's be honest. At the time, her and Carrie Fisher were goddamn sex symbols at the end of the 70s because of these two, because of Star Wars and Superman. Every dude was just fapping hard to them.
I do have some problems with the relationship, especially the really the whole thing, because it doesn't have a whole lot of chance to breathe, to build up. The time travel thing, I didn't think that was in the first one. I always thought it was in the second one.
Nope, that's the big thing. That's the big thing.
That would have given enough time where I can be like, all right, Clark knows this woman intimately. She's been with him for a long time. I can see him making this massive mistake to undo the planet in a way that makes no sense.
I think it only goes on. I think he's only been at the Daily Planet for a few months. I think this movie takes place over maybe a couple of months.
Yeah, for the adult portion.
Yeah.
But yeah, she never treats Clark well. Like, she is often dismissive, mocking him, that I don't get their relationship as being quality. Her and Superman's chemistry is good, but
So-
they never get enough of the whole Smallville, like, okay, Smallville, they never go into that enough. Now, again, we're going to go back to the fact that these are 2 movies separated, that we get way more of that in Donner Cut.
Mm-hmm.
There's frankly, Donner Cut, Superman 2, it's all about Lois and Clark.
Well, you have time to breathe. That's why the time travel stuff would make more sense.
Yeah.
I love her death. It was so visceral that I was surprised, but at the same time, it's not 100% believable, especially because he doesn't... If he's going to undo time, undo it all and save everyone, but he specifically only saves her, which is a problem.
Just tell me when to scream about time travel. I want to talk about them in love.
You're going to get there. Jeremy?
So I don't mind her portrayal of Lois. I view her very kind of accurate for when she's first meeting Clark and Superman, where she wants to, kind of be very dismissive to Clark, while at the same time, Superman, she wants to just bend over a table for.
Yes. Yes.
Like, that's who Lois is. And also at the same time, she's a journalist. She is really into her, like, career and stuff. She wants to be that top level journalist.
She can't spell, though.
No.
Yes.
That's why you like her. She can't spell.
Yes, I was like, oh my
adorable.
God, she can't spell. It's just like me.
And since we're talking about her spelling, Jimmy Olsen, I liked in this movie a lot. I've seen a few different portrayals of him, but none that I actually liked. He should be ginger, but he was still a likable character, whereas the version from, like, Supergirl, kind of weak. And we don't even need to mention the one from, I think he was in BVS.
There was a Jimmy Olsen. He was a military soldier that gets ganked right in the beginning.
That's right.
I repressed that movie.
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh God.
But
rage I felt when I left that movie for the first time.
Yeah. But I love Lois and Superman's chemistry. I even love Lois and Clark's chemistry in a different way. I love how these two work off each other. Like I said, I want to show Gen Z, like, this is how you flirt and be romantic. You don't have to sign contracts and hide cameras in your room, or else you're going to get sued. The playfulness back and forth on that, like, opening interview, and it's effectively a date, is so wonderful. And I've seen so many people criticize it to be like, oh, he's sexually harassing her or something, and it's like,
what?
She asked.
She outright asked, "Do your bodily functions work?"
Yeah.
She was advertising open for business.
I know, but women can do no wrong. It's so stupid,
What
but that's what I love about her.
She said, "How big are you?" And it was awkward. And he said, I mean, how tall are you?
Do you have normal bodily function? Yeah.
Yeah. Are you married? Are you single?
She's coming on way harder. And then what's her bucket? The henchman chick. She comes on to Superman really hard too. Like, the women in this movie are.
She roast
thirsty.
Tico's him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
imagine if the genders were changed. Imagine if this were a modern film and the genders were changed. It would be canceled to hell and back.
But this is why I love Lois, is that she's like a go-getter and she's strong at the time, like a proper strong woman, and not like what a modern day strong woman is. And it's just like, she's career driven. She says in the movie that it's like, I think it's her sister or something. Like, she has like kids, and I don't want
3
that.
kids
I want
and a mortgage.
That's right. And so this is what she wants to do. She wants to smoke. She wants to write articles, even though she can't spell, and she knows it, and she's going to go get it. And then so when she wants Superman, she's falling over herself to be like, I want you. And it's so freaking adorable. And it's just, it's
cute.
so good.
Now, it was mentioned in the chat. Yes, we know the lore of Lois Lane. She's an army brat, General Lane, but they don't even touch on that stuff in these movies, in the whole refranchise. They never go into Lois's backstory ever. Mm-hmm. But it's Lois Lane works. And Margot Kidder, her freneticness of it pays off. She sells it. And she does a good job, and I'm okay with it. And knowing what's coming in Superman 2 Donner Cut, you get that more relationship, because the whole movie's about their relationship, essentially, outside of Kneel Before Zod. I love Superman 2. I always
I'm looking forward to getting to it.
And I've actually never seen Donner Cut. I've never seen the Donner Cut. I've only seen the original cut.
I do want to make it clear the actors have a lot of chemistry, especially the Superman date with Lois, and I like her as a character. I just don't like her as a person. Like, she's well written and she works. It's kind of like
that's not what it is.
Yeah, it's like Yennefer in The Witcher for me. I absolutely adore her character. I've read all the books countless times. I love her story, her chemistry with Geralt. But if I were in the situation to date her, I'd rather blow some Minecrafts through my head. I nearly would.
Yeah. I like the Dommy mommies, and she is great. I love those strong women types like China.
Lois
Like
Lane's one of those. Lois Lane's one of those characters that are like, yeah, she's dominant in her profession, but then behind the scenes, she's very soft and, fragile.
She's still a woman.
So.
She wants him to take her immediately.
Yes.
You don't get more normal than that. I see a man
pink?
and I want it. That's gonna get clipped. I'm gonna clip it myself. That was too good. Let's see, 1 hour 20.
Hey Adam,
minutes.
do you like pink?
I'm not even going to walk into whatever trap you're setting for me. So moving on.
Jeremy, what panties am I wearing right now?
Well, listen, you guys have plenty of time when you're alone together. Okay, let's not bring that on this show right now.
Don't put that magic on me.
Yeah, so I'm okay with it. And all right, let's jump. The movie, once you get past Lex Luthor's plan thrown into motion, the movie kicks it into gear and rushes into the third act. It just goes full in there. We're everything's kind of established, but now Lex's plan. We've already talked about it. It makes sense as a supervillain plan for wealth, and he doesn't care. He is completely amoral. Does not care about innocent death. The whole thing goes down. Do we want to talk about Miss Tessmacher and the kryptonite scene? Well, let's okay. One thing real quick. I think it was really stupid for Clark to tell Lois in the interview, I can't see through lead.
Yeah.
Big problem.
I agree.
Well, I think that...
But it's his innocence.
I think that might be...
Yeah, James, you just answered. You just said why it still works. He's not experienced in any of this shit yet, and he's just talking.
He doesn't think people would have like a super evil plan against him. He's gonna just catch criminals that are like robbing banks and stuff. Why would anyone hate him to the point of crafting a lead room and multi-missiles and whistling to dogs over him? Like that's so far out of his brain.
I also don't think he thought I think this also could go down to Lois. Like, why the fuck are you publicizing one of his weaknesses?
Yeah, no, that definitely falls more on her.
Yeah.
Journalists, am I right?
Yeah.
For real though.
Yeah. That bugged me. So he sets the whole thing up, and it's a great little plan to lure him in there. And I do appreciate Superman going through all the traps, and we just get to see his invulnerability. I dig it. Like bullets, flame, ice, whatever.
I think that's extended cut, actually.
Yeah, that. Okay, it's extended cut.
Yeah,
okay,
I didn't see that.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So for those who didn't watch extended cut, what happens is after Lex lures him down to his dungeon, he has a bunch of traps set up because he doesn't exactly know how strong Superman is yet. So the first one is a hallway filled with machine guns, and we get a good 30 seconds of just bullets bouncing off Superman like it's nothing, and Superman's just going, yeah, I don't care, keep walking. Then it's a tunnel of flamethrowers that and they all think, you see Otis and Miss Tessmacher going, oh my God, he's burning alive. No, he's fine. Walter,
and it's a great shot, and it's such a shame it's only in the extended because Superman walking through that fire for 1978 is like the coolest freaking thing ever.
Yeah.
So,
and then he gets frozen solid and then busts out of it. Nothing. And then he breaks down the door, and then we have our confrontation, and Lex does what a Lex move. He masterfully lures him into the trap, thinking, "Oh, the codes are in this lead-lined box. Did you think you could trick me with your lead-lined box, Luthor?" "Oh no, don't do it. Don't open the box." He actually says, "Don't open the box."
Yeah, he plays it so cool. I love the part where he's like, "Take his cape," and Otis is like, "I don't think he wants me to take his cape, Mr. Luthor." And it's just that's why I like those two characters.
That was a good part. As much as I hate how Lex Luthor got the kryptonite, how he made that justification, how it got to Earth, what it did with it in that scene was really, really well done, like what you're saying.
And he traps him with it, and then in the end just pushes him. Now, makes a classic supervillain mistake. He leaves him to die and not make sure the deed is done.
Yeah.
That, and also not counter fact that his girlfriend is now thirsty, even thirstier than Lois.
I was waiting
and
for this.
angry about her mother.
Miss Texmacher is fine. She's wearing a white
Yes.
dress. She goes into that
Gets
pool,
very wet.
and she's not wearing a bra.
She's wearing a bra. It's a very thin bra. I saw the laciness of it on the top there. I was looking very closely. We know how I.
We were both staring at that. I did not see the lace.
You were looking at the nipples.
When I argue with the Zack Snyder bros online and they accuse this movie of all the horrible things, I always like to point out that the only person that gets sexually assaulted in this movie is Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it drives me nuts. Like, he is literally drowning and dying, and she was like, wait, and has to make out with him first while he's like in pain.
Why did you do it? Because you wouldn't have let me do it otherwise.
She admits to it.
And he goes,
you know what? You're right. Yeah,
You're right.
It's insane. So that I always love pointing to this scene because it's like, she's terrible too. She's evil.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
forget about her.
She's a henchwoman.
She doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't go to prison or anything. But like, she literally sexually assaults Superman because she can while he's dying, and it drives me nuts. This part.
Oh, he should not have let her off the hook when he arrests Lex at the end.
Yeah,
she should have been there too.
Yeah.
She wasn't.
Huck her over the wall at female prison. See ya, bitch, and just see
I love how he goes straight to prison. Like, he doesn't go to the police. He doesn't go
well, he
to.
says you'll keep them safe here until they get their fair trial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you'll keep them here. They're not going to get away. But the whole now, I do appreciate the whole kryptonite necklace scene because it's a weakness, and it shows you that even Superman can be brought to his knees because everybody has a weakness, and that's why. Ever since Superman's been in existence, there's now the zeitgeist term. We all have our kryptonite. We all have that one thing that can bring us to our knees.
I do have a question here because I'm not proficient in Superman. Man of Steel's the only Superman movie I've ever seen. And that film, it makes it clear that most things from kryptonite have that effect on him. Even the atmosphere of Krypton has a negative effect on him. Is that a part of this lore as well?
In Man of Steel, that was Batman turning kryptonite into a gas weapon. That wasn't so much atmosphere.
No. That was BVS. No, I mean, like, with Zod, when he goes into their ship that has Kryptonian atmosphere, it affects him.
It would kind of be like red sun atmosphere, so it's blocking out UV rays, so it wouldn't. I mean,
because he had to get used
it's
to
all. It's
Earth.
all about red sun, yellow sun. In terms of Kryptonian powers, red sun keeps them normal. They're just it's a heavier planet, all that kind of stuff, and because they have they do to get that right because of the denser molecular structure, and then empowered by the ultraviolet rays of a yellow sun, that's what gives Kryptonian superpowers. So if you're denied the yellow sun UV rays, and if you're depleted, because they make a point of that going on in the mythology, and it's been talked about in Lois and Clark, then Superman. And there's times where if he gets depleted, he does get weaker, and you've seen it in other issues. If he runs out of juice and has been without yellow sun for a long time, he will become weaker. So,
Superman's a plant.
It's kind of.
He's a mean green mother from outer space, and he's bad.
So
he is.
Yeah, I'm just not 100% on.
It's about red sun, yellow sun. It's just about red sun, yellow sun, and again, this is a. Damn it, Jed! I did it.
You did what again?
What'd you do?
He said again. He says again a lot, and it bothers him.
That's his kryptonite?
It's his kryptonite.
It's one of my shitty transition words. It's a stupid word that I use when my mouth is talking faster than my brain, and I need that half a second to catch up and collect my thought. And I'll say again to give myself a space. And it's something that's only happened the past 6 months. I didn't used to do it. I didn't do it for 3 years. Suddenly, in the past half a year, I've suddenly started doing it. So it's a stupid word, and I'm trying to get it. Last week, got away with it. Didn't say it once, and here I just did it again.
Chat, fund Adam's speech therapy. There you go.
So it's a problem. It's a problem. And Jed keeps a running tally.
Now that I think about it, you do say again a lot.
Yes, it is a word that has creeped into my vernacular, and I'm not happy about it. I need to slow down. I'm just speaking too quickly, and I need to throw out a transitionary word or a delay word just to give myself a chance to catch up and collect my thoughts. And that's the one that's currently happening. and I don't like it.
I'm fighting the but-ums again.
But
Yeah.
I just lean into mine,
really only
whatever.
It happens on stream, or it happens on this stream, the most. And it
You're so
happens on-
excited about the good movies we're talking
I know,
about, Adam. It's fine.
I hate it. Anyway, let's again get back to it. Okay, that was on purpose. So, but we got the whole. I appreciate the whole kryptonite necklace, and back to what. So, Jed, is that first of all, Jed, is that a sufficient explanation for the moment on that? On your question?
I mean, I don't get how the atmosphere of their ship was a red sun atmosphere, but that's probably just that a movie being really dumb. So
the movie being really dumb, it doesn't.
Combination
It's very
of both.
much of just go with it. It's fine,
Combination.
have fun.
Yeah. Every other iteration, especially this one, I mean, Bruce Dini versus Timverse does an excellent job of Red Sun versus Yellow Sun Superman power up. They do a great job of it.
I will second that the Timverse is just the best thing for every character ever. That's why everyone should be a DC fan. It's the freaking best.
James, all I need is Batman Beyond. It's all I need now. I've got everything else.
Yeah. Oh, you mean animated? I thought you meant like a movie. Or
no.
something.
I'd like a good Batman Beyond movie too, but we ain't gonna get that. We can
never
get Terry
gonna
McGinnis.
Never gonna
Batman
get
Beyond. If you want to dip your toes into it, just watch Return of the Joker. It's the best freaking thing ever.
It's
a good movie.
But beautifully it is that Justice League Unlimited season 1 actually has the epilogue to Batman Beyond. So whenever I'm watching the whole thing, I have to stop. I have to watch Batman Beyond, and then I have to watch the final episode of Unlimited season 1.
If you ever end up talking about Timverse stuff, you know where I am.
It'll happen.
Hit up that signal.
It'll happen. I love it all. I mean, like I said, all I need, I got this. I got Justice League complete series right there, even though one of my discs is damaged.
Shiny. Oh no, that's fine. That's
and you know what? It's in one of my best. It's one of my favorite episodes. It's a two-parter with Hawkgirl and Solomon Grundy. Where
oh god, yes. Oh my god.
And it's damaged. It's damaged right at the end where Fate is trying to use Grundy to seal it, and then it falls apart, and the disc is damaged at that moment, and I don't know how it got scratched. It pissed me off. I don't know how it happened.
You knock over something weird. I mean, that's like this movie that we're talking about, like both my copies, and they're not even scratched. It's just I guess formatting. I don't know, when they made it, they botched it. So you hit a certain chapter and just freezes.
There's a scratch on the disc, and I don't know how it happened.
You can see it. Oh,
I can see it. I can see it, and I'm very angry. Now, again, that collection is a DVD collection, so I could justify upgrading it to Blu-ray at some point.
Do it up
and re-get it, but that's another time. I have to complete getting things I don't have before I start upgrading things. That's the rule I have. Get what you don't have first, upgrade later.
General Grievous, I get it.
Yeah. So back on track.
Again.
Red Sun, Yellow Sun. So the whole idea of him being kryptonited right there is a great moment. And Superman needs somebody's help, and she's going to help him because he always tells the truth.
Yeah.
He is the big blue Boy Scout. And
that's more kryptonite than kryptonite. Like he cannot lie, and it's so good. Yeah.
So after slipping him the tongue, Superman then goes off to save the day. He beats the first missile. Doesn't use heat vision. We don't have heat vision in this movie. They just, for whatever reason, they decided not to use it. They saved it for part 2. Point shoots it into space and then goes across the country. Because Superman can do that. That's fine. It's no problem. Superman's that fast. Or across the way. He's in space at that point. And then we have the destruction, the fault line. He finds the perfect spot to push the fault line back into place.
Oh, it's nonsense.
After it
But before that, that's not how nuclear missiles fly. The one he stopped, it's like on the ground, avoiding the landscape. It just goes up and comes back down.
Yeah, these things were. Yeah.
It did not have that advanced of a flying autopilot to navigate through mountains and ravines.
It actually went around him in one.
Yeah, like that is. That would need a human pilot, and even stuff like that in the 70s wasn't a thing. Like remote piloting wasn't to that degree, so things went up and they came back down.
Yeah. I almost wonder if military stuff in Hollywood back then, if it was the military intervening in Hollywood, being like, you have to make it look stupid. I don't want our enemies to actually know like what we're doing here.
It's Stargate. Plausible deniability. We're going to give you this shit now so we can deny we always knew how to do it. Okay, let's just jump right to it. We've danced around it.
Fuck.
after Superman does some great stuff to save everybody, he does what Superman does. He then was late to saving Lois, as Jed puts it earlier, as she is viscerally crushed and suffocated under
quite
metal
the
and
death
dirt.
scene.
Under metal and dirt.
And the scene is so good. Can we quickly just say that scene is so good before the next seconds?
You are going like this.
It's a hard death. I was not expecting
shocking.
anything like that from a 70s PG film.
It's the 70s, though.
As a Superman fan, you don't expect Lois to die. Like, she straight up dies. It makes it clear, and it's like, oh, damn. And you feel for him, and with the former chemistry that they had and all the things we saw, it's just like, this is heartbreaking. And she dies a brutal death, and it's like, are they really doing this?
And they did. And now we had the whole Jor-El foreshadowing. You cannot interfere in their history.
So he knew he would have time travel abilities.
Okay, all right.
I think.
Everybody who loves this movie and appreciates it, they still all universally agree. Rotating the planet in the opposite direction does not reverse time.
It kills everyone on the planet. Not everyone realizes this, but there's no such thing as standing still. We're moving at thousands of miles an hour in spinning.
And you're not. And time is a universal thing. It's not just on planet Earth.
Well, that too. But look, if this planet stopped spinning, even for a moment, human beings and everything else would keep moving at that speed. We get thrown against our walls at thousands of miles an hour and be splattered.
And
everyone on Earth would die.
The rotation on our axis would destroy our environment completely.
We'd be left a barren rock if he did that.
I wish he did that out of spite instead. I don't even have a problem with how he time travels. It's more the fact that he does time travel at all and just how much it breaks.
And then what happens at the end there? The missile, we talked about this earlier, the missile still hit. But where is then the fissure that swallows Lois?
Yeah, it should still show up.
Because he went right back there.
But then he still saved Jimmy in between that.
The dam still broke. But no, the dam healed itself. Then why did he need to save Jimmy if the dam healed?
Exactly.
If they were going to make this work, they needed another 2 minutes of showing him doing all the other saving things and then getting to Lois.
Or just go back to before the missile landed and stop the missile from hitting.
Or that, but
why isn't there two Superman?
He would have never made again. Okay, there should be two Superman. There's a paradox here. We're having a paradox problem. We're now dealing with paradox. This is why
time travel is so difficult.
Jed, you've heard me talk about the fact that it'll get to a point where the power of time travel, the power of time is going to be very important in all my stories going forward. I take very careful, precise things to, and maybe I'm on a spoiler, maybe not. You guys know I take temporal paradox very seriously when I deal with time travel. We're dealing with paradox here. We're dealing
with all sorts of just logic that doesn't make sense. That's the reality here. Nothing of it makes sense. Not 1 second makes sense because Jed, you brought it up. If her car is now like coming out of the ground and everything, is back to the way it was before she got killed, then everybody else is still dying. All of his good deeds just got erased.
Well,
that missile's still gonna land.
It's still hit. Because Jimmy says, you left me in the middle of an earthquake, which means everything still happened. All we needed to see to make it, time travel part aside, all my complaints aside, to make sure all we needed to see was to show that he still did everything to save everybody and then got to Lois. And the fissure still should have been there. He should have swooped in, picked up the car, and placed it down. Then everything is tied up nicely. Then all I can complain about is you can't rotate the Earth backwards to time travel. Then that's my only complaint. But the fissure didn't come back. And we saw everything put back in place, yet it still happened because Jimmy said the earthquake still happened, which is the missile still hit.
Even if it was a nice package and everything, I would still have a problem with it because it just kills the stakes of everything. Because now you're implying that he can always just turn back time. Exactly. Lois is dead again.
Except the Holdo maneuver.
Yeah.
There aren't any consequences for it because I think it would have been a really nice way to put in the lesson of John
Wait,
Kent.
there is a consequence.
Does
Superman
it break
2?
No, break the Phantomverse?
The second missile explodes, and that's what breaks open the Phantom Zone mirror.
And that's only in the extended cut.
It is.
But he needs to like grapple
only
with
the
that.
extended cut.
It's reinforcing the lesson of John Kent's death. Is sometimes you can't control things. Sometimes people die. That could have worked from a character
And they
point.
overplayed it. They overplayed his words over Jor-El's words in that moment. Jor-El says you can't go back, you can't change things. And then you hear John Kent say, you were here to do something special. But you can't always save everybody.
But now
you can't
you
kill
can.
Lois Lane. You can't kill Lois Lane, but there should have been I feel like there should have been a better way to solve this final crisis than time travel and killing Lois Lane.
It's a cheat. So the movie runtime is about 2 hours and 30 minutes, and if it wasn't for this 5 minutes being bad, if I didn't love the other 2 hours and 25 minutes of this film, this would tank the movie for me.
It doesn't.
The rest of the
break
movie is so good that like I see this and I'm like, oh, here it comes. Like the one thing I really don't like in this movie. I'm fine with him screaming at the sky. Even
that was a good moment.
But that's rage, and I like it because that's and I alluded it. It's a Justice League thing. It's the world of cardboard, and I'm not going to play in your world of cardboard anymore. I'm going to do what I can do because I am a freaking god on this world. And I'm going to break the rules for this one thing. But it's just, poor execution. They shouldn't have done it. There should have been a better way. And especially knowing what we're going to get in the next movie, those of us who know what's coming. I
Fire to the fucking Fortress of Solitude. I almost said Sanctum Sanctorum. I don't know fucking why. Fortress of Solitude. Pull out some Kryptonon bullshit. And go like,
Kryptonon? What's Kryptonon?
Are you Marlon Brando now, Dermy? You're just like, whatever, it's Kryptonon.
I think I was mixing.
What are my lines?
All right, I'll do it for you. Just go to the Fortress of Solitude, get some Krypton science, and fix it all with space magic. There you go.
Thank you. Use space magic.
Magic.
Yeah, they could have done a cop-out. They could have just been like, oh, Marlon Brando has more advice to you. Son, if your girlfriend dies, just do this, and I would have been fine. But...
Like, there's a magic reviver technology they have at the fortress, like carry her corpse to the Fortress of Solitude.
Almost anything's better than time travel.
Right there. You have All-Star Superman right there. He talks about all sorts of cool Krypton technology.
Yeah.
They have all sorts of stuff there that he could have potentially used.
Yeah. Well, it's
great film.
It's
great comic.
That scene nearly ruined the movie because of how dumb it is.
Yes,
exactly.
This is the real. Oh, we forgive. We've talked about all the stuff forgiven. It's this concept where we just go, you're pushing it, Donner. You're pushing it. We're with you. We know it's not comic accurate. We're with you. But this.
Yeah, was it like, I will make a great movie that makes millions of dollars, but I have to have my time travel? Was that in his contract or something? Because it's so weird that the rest of the movie is like so stellar, and then, at least for me, and then you get to this part and it's just like, and I hate it.
All right, Legatus brings up time travel, but this isn't. They do that properly. There's technology involved in time travel, or Flash, who uses the Speed Force, which is something beyond comprehension. This is different.
Yeah, he's not going through time. This isn't Superman going back in time. This is him reversing time. That's a very, very different concept.
Yeah.
Even that with the Flash, this is why Wally West is my favorite Flash, because I like my Flash being stupid, and like Johnny Cage, because he's like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I just don't want to be fat. And it's just like, you can't have someone that OP be a genius. Like, you have to make him a little stupid.
Well, you saw there's that great episode in Justice League where in all the instances we see Flash throughout Justice League, he never vibrates through anything, and then as soon as Lex is in his head, Lex realizes, oh shit, I can vibrate through everything and kill people. And Wally's like, oh shit, that's not good. He figured that one out.
Yeah, and Wally is so innocent, so it's like he wouldn't do something like that. I love it.
Is that the episode where Lex takes off the Flash's mask and when he's in the body, he's like, time to find out who the Flash is.
I don't know.
I have absolutely no idea who this man is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's that episode.
I've seen that clip. It's pretty funny.
But that episode, that's a perfect example of how to remind you that DC heroes are gods, as opposed to Marvel heroes who are just really, really powerful. DC heroes are gods. The Flash could literally vibrate inside your chest and grab your heart and crush it and vibrate it into nothing. These are massively powerful characters who are only tempered, and we see it in this movie, who are tempered by moral values.
Yeah.
And that is why Superman works. Superman is the strongest one. I mean, we see it, even if he goes full bore, he can even take down Darkseid when he wants to. But it's control. And he's taught it by moral, lack of a term, God-fearing Americans. He's taught them by this stuff. And they teach him you have to respect life and respect the things around you. And this movie nails it. And that is why, even with this moment in this final part where it's just, it's all kinds of wrong, we forgive it. Because look, when he stands there and rescues Lois at the end, it's like, hi, you're okay. And I'm just going to be smart. And it just works. And then he goes to the Lex's dungeon and saves Tessmacher and just hoists them to the prison. And when the warden says, thank you, Superman. No, thank you. We're all on the same team here.
All right, I do want to briefly talk about that moment because I think it highlights very well why Christopher Reeves is so good, because that dialogue from both people is incredibly cheesy, especially what the warden says. And the warden's delivery makes it feel cheesy. I cringed when the warden said that. But Christopher Reeves' line is near equally as cheesy, but his delivery makes me smile and say, all right, I could see it. It works.
It's Superman.
It's Superman. And so that's why I think he stands out so much, because he can make potentially too cheesy dialogue sound authentic and engaging, hopeful even.
Hopeful. All right, so that's the movie in a nutshell.
A nutshell.
A nutshell. Well, hey, I told you 4 people. We went an hour longer than normal, and that's fine. I love it.
Go another 2 hours.
We could.
This movie's so good. Yeah,
I want to eat dinner, and I got cookies I'm going to bake. So I got some.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm treating myself tonight. Treating myself. But we have. Let's go over real quick the remaining parts of what makes food well. All right, the special effects are dated as hell, but I still love the whole.
Yeah.
There's something graceful and pleasant about his flight motions, and I'm okay with it.
It's amazing with the practical effects. Personally, I'll always take practical over CGI. I always prefer seeing something that's real. So even though they're dated, I can put myself in that mindset. But I couldn't get over the fact that, like I said, I think this was the most expensive movie to date at the time. Came off a year of Star Wars. It's amazing how good Star Wars looks and how timeless it looks. And then you see some of the stuff in this, and it's just like, oh, we're pushed back.
Well,
and it's just
we got to remember, Lucas was pioneering new technology at the time.
Yeah,
that was why.
Yeah, it definitely looks significant.
It was not available to anybody else. He made it on the fly, but it works. It works, and the cinematography works as well. Even though I think it's lazy, overlapping New York and calling it Metropolis, I still think that's lazy. It bugs me. It's all hell. But you see the real world. We see practical effects, explosions. I like it. So we're all okay with it. It ages well because we accepted that that's what it was. I think that's a fair way to put it. And now we cannot talk about Superman without talking about the score. Last week, Jed and I had a very long conversation at the end of last week's episode about the brilliance of John Williams. Now, this is John Williams in the beginning. This is early. He's just done Star Wars. He's doing this. This is the beginning of what would go on now to be a career, the career of the GOAT. It always comes down to to John Williams as John Williams. The theme. This theme has stood the test of time. You hear this theme and you get jazzed. I hear this theme. I go like this. I pretend I can fly when I hear this theme. I'm happy. And I even do a couple fist pumps at certain points during it because it's magical. And that's what John Williams do, make something magical. How do we feel? Let's go around.
If Danny Elfman speaks Batman to me, John Williams speaks Superman. And just there's something so important about music in film, and just the way this music feels is perfect. I don't know if this is controversial, but I would even say for nowadays, if I'm putting myself in like a younger mindset, this score is actually underrated. John Williams is iconic and probably the biggest composer in film history, but you usually think of like Indiana Jones and Star Wars. That's what people point to. But it's like you hear just a second of the theme and you think Superman. I defend the Joss Whedon cut of Justice League, and they use the John Williams score and the Danny Elfman score for Superman and Batman. And when those two hit, it's just like, oh, there it is. I feel like it's Superman there.
I wanted nothing more than to have Henry Cavill in that with this theme. That in this modern era, I wanted nothing more than that.
You get a taste of it in the Joss Whedon cut.
One other.
Jeremy.
The score is phenomenal. It is 100% what I'm not going to say what makes Superman, but it helps you know who this guy is. Without that score, it would still be Superman, but this just increases your love of him, and people know it so well that you brought up Joss Whedon cut end of Black Adam.
Oh, I never saw
They did that's what made me want it, because I thought, oh shit, Cavill's going to get one more chance, and they're going to use the John Williams theme. Oh,
I gotta watch that.
They announced it. Well, he comes out and everything. You got the John Williams theme. You got Henry Cavill with the little swoop and everything like that. It was like they knew what you wanted. They knew what you desire, and they gave it to you for a moment, and then bent you over a table.
I hate you, Warner Brothers, so much.
And as we go to Jed, real quick on Jed's side, super sticker. Jed, you can probably see what it is on your studio.
I can. It is of a Corky saying "My Hero." I appreciate it, and with the Canadian $3.99.
Thank you, and Magic, for the support. All right, Jed. After last week, when we just went on and on about John Williams, how do you feel about the Superman score?
Well, it's perfect in every way. This is John Williams at his heights. This is one of his best themes, in my opinion. And it makes you feel hopeful. It exemplifies the Superman ethos. I really feel invigorated, excited, and it forces me to almost enjoy what I'm seeing regardless of what is actually happening. And that's really a testament to John Williams' skill, is it more than elevates the film. I think it makes it the legend that it is.
It does. That theme and the Lois and Clark theme they're tattooed on pop culture. They are historic and iconic, and they, as you said, as we always say, it elevates the movie. There is one thing I will always do when I watch a movie that has a John Williams score. I will let the credits run all the way, because I want to listen to this music, and I did it when I finished watching this movie. I let the credits run because I want to hear this music. Question is, and I have heard many say, some consider this his best. I do not. I think there are other scores, especially, I will say all three Star Wars scores, original trilogy scores, are better than this. But it's still up there.
Fates.
That's Phantom Menace. That's a track out of the whole Phantom Menace thing. I would say if I right now, I would put the entire score of Empire Strikes Back over this.
The big one for me is deciding whether or not this is better than Indiana Jones. Those are the two that are competing.
And they're the top three. Yeah, I'm trying to see what else. What else?
Last week we did Memoirs of Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Last week, Memoirs of a Geisha. We talked about it last week, which was so impressive because unless you know it's him, you don't know it's him. It's how perfect
he disappears in the style
for a couple
of Japanese
little
music.
notes here and there, which are his fingerprints of his tone.
Yeah,
you don't know it.
John Williams has a lot of classic things.
Jurassic
Harry
Park,
Potter, E.T.,
Home Alone's
Jurassic
really
Park.
good.
Hook is so underrated.
I know, it's so good.
I mean, you got to realize you just keep going down the list, and but this is memorable because these two themes, and there is a score to this movie, but I only remember these two themes.
Yeah,
I remember the main theme, and I remember the Lois and Clark theme. That's what I remember. And it's John Williams, the greatest of our era, the greatest in modern era when it comes to scoring and creating themes to these endless classics, and that's what adds to this movie. Without that, we get John Barry and the Black Hole. As I said last time, it just did not work. It did not work. All right,
that Man of Steel? Oh.
No.
John Barry.
John Barry's James Bond. He's James Bond.
Oh, okay.
He did the track for the Black Hole, and it just didn't work. It's like he was trying to put a James Bond theme into a movie that had no business being down in like a James Bond movie.
That movie had some issues.
You know what's sad is I don't think we're ever gonna have another John Williams. We have somebody who's trying to be John Williams, the guy that did the Dune soundtrack.
Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer is Hans Zimmer, and he has a lot of his own stuff, but it's not. Hans Zimmer doesn't have that magic of John Williams.
He's incredibly talented.
Hans Zimmer's great. Yeah.
There's a few other great ones like Howard Shore with the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. I put that as the second greatest soundtrack of all time, with Star Wars being the first. And
you throw in Jerry Goldsmith and all that he's done. I mean,
Alan Silvestri's done a ton.
There's the pantheon, but John Williams remains at the top, not only because of his ability, but just his catalog. You realize everything is done, and it always comes down to these great movies have his great soundtrack, and it's always going to be in a greatest of combat. It will always be John Williams versus John Williams at the end. It's just a fact. As great as the Lord of the Rings trilogy is, that's all you know for Howard Shore.
It's true.
That's it. That's all I know for Howard Shore. Somebody else may know more, but and it's perfect and beautiful. Hell, my own mother goes to some of those tracks to find peace and tranquility these days.
Concerning Hobbits is so relaxing.
For her, it's Rivendell for her.
Oh, Rivendell.
For it's Rivendell.
The Rohan theme makes me want to, go to war.
Those are magical and powerful, but it's just that. When you talk John Williams, we go down the list, and it's longer than my arm. So that's why John Williams thinks he is the best. He is the best. Yeah. All right, with that said, we are at 2 hours. Let's go around the horn. I'll give you guys some final thoughts, and then we'll score it. We'll start with Dermy. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts is, as much as I love the movie, it's super freaking cheesy, but cheesy in a good way that you're not, like, turning it off. You want to indulge in all this, like, super camp levels of fun. My final score, though, because of the time travel.
Don't score it yet. Don't score it yet. Final thoughts, then score.
Final thoughts?
Yeah, just
final thoughts. I gave my final thoughts.
Okay, well then you gave your final
it's
thoughts.
Cheesy and good.
Okay, there you go. James, final thoughts.
I love this movie. I highly recommend everybody should see this film. I think younger generations should see this film to get patience and understand what good storytelling is, what good structure is, what good music is, good acting, good everything. I think a lot of us nowadays are going through superhero fatigue, especially with Marvel. And this film is a breath of fresh air watching it nowadays. And it's just like, this is what superhero movies are supposed to be, with the quintessential superhero. Everything in this film will leave you happy and smiling, and it might even get you reconnected with a little bit of your hope and a little bit of your faith and everything. So I cannot recommend this movie enough, and it doesn't matter what you're into. This to me is the essential Superman media, period. So I love it.
Jed,
despite time travel.
Jed.
I'm with a lot of you when it comes to this film. There's so much to enjoy about it, and subjectively, I did love my experience with this film. There are some substantial flaws that I do see. I am definitely the one here, I believe, I like the more artsy types of films, like Last Night in Soho and Tar have been two of my favorite movies from the last couple of years. So this definitely isn't the type of film that would work for me as well as it does for some of you guys. But it's incredibly fun, and the hopeful spirit of it is essential for a Superman film. So it easily makes it the best Superman film that I've ever seen. But those flaws are just too blaring for me to really get immersed in the film, especially the Lex Luthor stuff and the time travel stuff. Those two things are enough to really bring down my score a lot once we get there. But.
Okay. And score. Okay, so guests get to score first because we have guests. Dermy, what's your score out of 10?
I'm gonna go 7.5. It feels rude to give it such a low score, but some of the problems are very glaring. So,
James,
For me, this film is a solid and quality 8 out of 10. I would probably push it up to a 9 if it wasn't for the time travel, if not even almost a 10. But yeah, really, like, if this movie wasn't so incredible apart from that, that would make it a horrible film. But it's such an incredible film that it goes all the way up to like a great to me, which is what an 8 is roughly, is like a great. Yeah, it's got a rough 5 minutes that completely ruin it, but that's fine. Just ignore it. It's just move on. It's
Get
still
to
great.
the Donner cut. Get to the Donner cut.
It's all about the hope and the faith and just the amazing job that these actors do with these characters that kind of give you that lovely positivity. So if you can ignore time travel, for me, it's an 8 out of 10.
All right, Jed.
Obviously I read things differently than most people. I'm often called psychotic, or I lead other people to believing or agreeing with my opinions, and then on panel shows they get absolutely eviscerated. Shout out to my man Fear the Beardo. I have to rate this a little bit lower at 6.5 because a lot of those issues I mentioned are plot destroyed. They're not just plot holes. They shatter the whole cohesive of the narrative where it doesn't make any sense. And that's a big problem for me.
Okay. I echo most of what you guys all said. I have problems with the time travel. I have problems with Lex Luthor. I have problems with, in my opinion, as it says, laziness of just calling New York City Metropolis, even though we know Metropolis isn't New York City. New York City exists in the DC universe. Other things, little things, nerdy stuff that I've already mentioned, pick apart. But in the end, this movie still respects Superman. As James said, it brings you the hope, that wonderful, fuzzy, warm feeling that we get when we look at Superman saving the day. It's there. Christopher Reeve nails it in every way, shape, or form as both Superman and Clark Kent. You believe it, you feel it. He wants to be there. He wants you to enjoy it. You know it. The rest of the cast does an outstanding performance. It's the acting performances that save this for me, which is why I'm comfortable, like James, putting it at an 8 out of 10. This is a must-watch movie, so you can appreciate what respect looks like when it comes to doing superhero films and respecting the source material. Even though they bend it a little bit, he's still Superman. He's still Superman, and we give you that salute and that wave and that smile, and that's all we need to feel comfortable and warm, alongside a soundtrack, a score, a theme that is just iconic and memorable. And with that said, we're done. I had a movie chosen for last week, but I'm kind of waffling on it, so you guys will get the announcement in the next day or so as I decide exactly really what I feel like doing next week. So either way, let's go around the horn. We've got guests this week, so you guys get to pimp your wares. Dermy, everybody knows who you are.
Yeah, everybody knows who I am. I'm Dermy Wormy, obviously. You know, I'm the most degenerate one here. My husbando is right here next to me. Love you, James. Great to be on a stream with you.
Anytime, babe.
Always. I will be on my own stream here in about 10 minutes, or actually 5 minutes, to go play more Final Fantasy VII for a little while. Then I'll make an appearance over on
Skinemax.
Vets talking later. Skinemax later tonight for a little while, and then go. I'm still going to be streaming my own perspective Final Fantasy at the same time because I'm so addicted.
You having fun with it?
Yeah, I've only played like a few hours in the game,
and you were drunk half of it.
I was drunk half of it, but I'm having.
And we
fun.
derailed you for another half of it.
Does it make the plot better if you're drunk? That's what I wanted.
I don't hate it.
We only want to hear from Kay when it comes to Final Fantasy from your house, okay? We don't want to hear from you.
She's going to be screaming.
We want to hear from Kay. We don't want to hear from you.
I have to, when it comes to Final Fantasy, I have to take a look at this as, again, Final Fantasy 7.5. Different.
But are you having
story,
fun?
But
that's important.
I am having fun. I've been
That's
looking
good.
forward today to play more of it because I'm only playing it on stream. So
yeah, that's good.
And it's been a fight not to play it off stream.
James from Melee Games.
Hey, everybody. First of all, Adam is freaking great. Thank you for having me, bud.
No
I am Melee James, one half of Melee Games, where we talk all things gaming nonstop. What do we got going on over on our channel? Oh my god, there's so much. Well, I'm dying to play more Helldivers 2 because if Dermy is addicted like crack to Final Fantasy, my crack is Helldivers, but the servers have been down like crazy. So, hey, if the servers are back up later, I might do a surprise stream of Helldivers. I've been doing those late night Helldiving. If not, I will be live tomorrow with the Gifted Games Gallery, so I'll be looking at 5 games that I've never played before on stream. And then after that, it will be Tuesday. We're jumping back into my favorite MOBA that everyone hates, Heroes of the Storm. And so that's going to be a big co-op session with Heroes of the Storm, the one Blizzard game that I will still play. So check us out, Melee Games. We do all things gaming. We shit on all things gaming. It's freaking chaos here, man, and I'd love to have you.
All right, man. Thank James. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Derek, for being here. Jed, they all know who you are. They're on your channel right now.
Yes, everyone knows who I am. I'm Hollywood Scholar on YouTube Kick, and I do things sometimes when I'm not busy writing and haven't made a video in 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's been. Listen, I myself haven't had time to game, mostly because I've been in a weird headspace for a couple of weeks. But also, it's just I'm torn between streaming and recording for gaming stuff for the gaming channel. And then my own schedule here, which continues tomorrow on this channel. If you're also here, you know who I am. You know what's coming up for the rest of the weekend. I want to thank both Derby and James for being here. As always, it's Jed, you're you, so you're fine. You're here. You're required to be here. You're required to be here. Anyway, so guys, all seriousness, thank you one and all. Hit that like button. Watching live or on the replay. We'll see you guys next time. Until then, take it easy. Have a good night or day wherever you may be.